games, it makes those consistency and kind of rules out a little bit of the RNG. But also, while we're looking at numbers, we talk about the probability and the first teams and all that. There's something called gambler's fallacy, where you can't look at the previous results and account them towards the results that are going to go in. Basically, that means today's a new day, it's 6 new games, and it doesn't matter if you're a team who is playing the other time and have all that experience, you all get the same shot.
I love it, Sundown, and that is things we're going to be definitely touching on today. Really quickly, let's talk about another duo, Flois and Andretta. So at the end of session 1, which was 2 days ago, we saw them, they started in Sleepy Sound, and then in game number 5 on session 1, they said, wait, Covert Cavern is uncontested. The duos that have landed there, Thomas and Payson, Bino and Joe, they've qualified. We can now go over there. So, Levin, yesterday they spent their entire games in Covert Cavern, but now they've decided to opt in to go back to Sleepy Sound. Why is that?
It pains me to say, but it's because they stunk it up. Like, look, these guys will know it, and they said it on social media. They were on Twitter saying, look, we've been really bad the past couple of days, and it's true, they were really bad. You know, we talked endlessly about how Covert Cavern teams is easy, right? Tayson Thomas qualifying, Joe Vino qualifying is easy. Everyone just go Covert, you're qual. It wasn't the case for these guys by any means. Like, they weren't even looking close to qualifying. So I think for them, it's an essence of, look, like Sundown said, forget what's happened the past couple of days. We're going South Sleepy now. Let's pattern up. Let's fix up, because at this stage, Andrea and Flois not making it. If they don't qualify today, it's just going to look like a really, really bad and rough season for 2 great players in their own right. So I do hope they can sort things out today.
And to be very clear on what Levin's saying, that was their words and not just saying we're just echoing it. It showed in their performance going through. They were saying like, hey, this isn't up to our level. I think it even goes to show when we talk about the pros and they describing their drop spot that we just saw in the content piece right before this, how much that really means when you have individual players. Like, we all know how good Andretta is. We've seen Flois pull off results, and they're like, oh, we can go Covert. But even if they're not familiar with the drop spot, somebody else who might not necessarily be at that high of a renowned or a mechanical level just whacks them every single time. And that knowledge plays a huge factor in your performance.
And you know, this actually might help them today, right? Because when we talk about this next duo, Snazy and Nate, they're coming in today in session 3. So this is the first time they're going to be able to compete here. And they are landing Covert Cavern. And guess what? There's 3 duos all vying for this drop spot, right? So it might actually benefit Flois and Andretta to not go here. But I do want to kind of turn the attention back to Snazy and Nate, because they are going up against Kane and Cruel and Slove and SLQ. They are very close by, what we call this kind of south side of Covert, or even like Llama split. We could kind of dub it Sundown.
Llama
I
drop.
mean, okay, I like that one as well. How are we feeling about Snazy and Nate specifically, Sundown?
You feel like, I feel like they should be there. Everyone said like, oh, they very much underperformed this season. There's somebody who we see in the finals over and over again. But if you're not getting the results in that time frame, it makes it incredibly difficult. And while the llama drop is very strong, we've already seen just all of the utter shenanigans that have happened around the Covert. And if you haven't necessarily had the best results in those environments so far this season, only having 6 games to put up those results, I'm really hopeful they find some kind of success early, even if it's not necessarily winning a game right off of the bat, but just get in some sort of a rhythm so you can make use of those last 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, the reality is Nate is a legend of the game. Snazy, in my opinion, still actually is, you know, at the caliber of a top player. I think the big thing is, can Nate, someone who we've known to always historically be one of the best players in any lobby he's playing in, can he rise back up to that level? I really hope he can, because I think it'd be a shame not to see him there. But like Sundown said, they've not had the greatest season. Are they magically all of a sudden going to become the top duo we all thought they can be in these lobbies? It remains to be seen. I'm sure if you are Shayo and Reese, they might tell you, look, all it takes is for Nate to have a good day today, and these guys qual. It will be very close. I think it'll be very close, but it is definitely possible.
And I think if they played toward the Victory Royale, right, maybe they could just go on through, right? They get themselves a Victory Royale in game number 1, and that's it. There is no more pressure. There's no more stress, right? They've made it. But again, this is kind of like something we're going to be talking about the whole day is now we're in this leg of the competition. Do you play for placement, or do you play for the Victory Royale? And that's kind of what I want to frame a lot of these next topics over. So let's kind of go east on the side of the map, all right? Let's go all the way over to Sanctuary. We've got 3 different duos landing there, okay? Combat, Blacha, Wolfie, Mr. J, Frey, and Kirio. And I mean, Sanctuary right now, I feel like as a POI, we haven't really seen much of it, like too much on the broadcast. But like, what can you guys tell me about this POI that the viewers at home may not know?
Yeah, I think for Sanctuary, it's not necessarily been a POI that I've associated with like the top teams within the season. You know, there's definitely some question marks about it, but I don't think it's inherently a bad spot. I think the fact that we have all these teams sort of at this POI, the loot's kind of spread out. That potential there for teams to sort of get their bearings before a fight breaks out or whatnot. But yeah, you know, Sanctuary's a win, and I think all it will really take in the eyes of the community is one good team to land there, do really well. People are like, yeah, it's a good POI, right? But you know, so far this season, I don't think it's, you know, brought the most fruitful of performances.
I mean, 3 teams definitely is a lot. Big drawing point that you were asking for hidden tips that people don't know about. I feel like the big draw point is one everyone knows about because of how strong it is. It's that mythic MK7, right? If you're able to get that in the hands of one of these players who has this aim, it just rips everyone apart. It puts so much pressure on the lobby, and it almost gives you a pass on Storm Surge as long as you're able to remotely hit some of your shots. So that's kind of the key point. You really want to be coming out of that drop spot with that weapon, and if you don't, then you should be going somewhere else.
You know, you made the point of hitting your shots. For some of these teams, it ain't been too easy the past couple of days, isn't it? So that's not even a given for some of these guys, even with the MK. But, you know, we'll see, of course. We'll see.
We'll see, man. Today is a new day as we continue to echo, right? Anything can happen. We can be surprised. It just takes that victory out or the top 6 to move on through. Next up, let's talk about Tilted Towers. 4 teams landing here. We've got 2 on that north side, Stentor and Fire. On the south side, we have Skyzoo and Jox and Sanji and BOV. And I'm so sorry if I pronounced any of your names wrong. Truly sorry about that. But Tilted Towers, man, 2 separate duos fighting it out, going head to head on both kind of like quadrants of Tilted Towers, if you will. This doesn't feel like a good situation for anyone, right? If any of these duos do alpha up and claim this POI, there's already duos in the finals that are going to be landing here, right? So is this kind of the POI we want to, like, you know, stick our flag in and say, like, this is it, this is our home base, we're not going anywhere else, and we're going to fight any of you guys who have already qualified and are probably better than us here? I mean, what do you think, Levin?
I don't necessarily see it as a means for them to sort of, you know, go on to use Tilt if they were to. I think it's just more so a means to actually make it to the final in some capacity. I know the teams around the lobby have switched up from the spots that they typically land at, and if they were to qualify, would land at. The weird thing with Tilt, though, is that I prefer to Tilt as being a spot where it's like 3 spots in one, right? North, south, and, you know, mid. You can have 3 spots land there, 2 spots in 2. Team in there, but I'm sure the other like that, right? If the fight's breaking out, if we can loot up early, get some free surge tags and be on our way, I'm sure they won't mind too much, but this definitely could be a spot to watch out for there.
I just think anytime you have more than 2 duos in a spot on this map, you're doing something wrong. There's so much room on this map. There's so many little scavenger routes. You don't need a ton to get in there. It's wild fights if they really want to in the early game. For the lack of kind of the super hard shotguns, you really have to get on top of somebody. Where when you get 4 duos in a spot, this is just going to be a clown fiesta. I don't think anybody's necessarily set up for success.
The king of the right? He knows how to look at the map and say, like, this is that spot. A little tiny nook, but you could go here, 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 and you can get everything you need. So if you're considering leaving your spot, think about these scavenger routes. I'm telling you, in finals, it may come in clutch. Now, we got to hear from the players. We got to hear their insights about the map, but what about them and their, like, personal lives? What are some of their favorite things? Well, guys, check this out.
Like, if you're gonna get a takeaway, you're gonna get pizza.
Hamburgers, definitely.
Pizza.
Because like hamburgers, it's without cheese. Like it needs to be cheeseburgers, then cheeseburgers, but just hamburgers, we go with pizza.
My favorite food is actually pizza.
Yeah, no, I just prefer pizzas.
I would say low ground.
Games and tournaments are being won by height, so yeah, that's why I prefer playing high ground.
I prefer low ground because, I don't know, high ground is just way too risky, I feel like. It's more like my playstyle. I always played low ground so far.
High ground.
Yeah, high ground. High ground is easier.
I prefer dogs, 100%.
Dogs, 100%. No more lines, that's it. Dogs.
I think I would go with cats because they're easier to treat.
Dogs, definitely.
Dogs. I mean, for me, really, it's that I like cats, but they don't like me.
Dogs.
I mean, Quad Crusher because you could use it in a bunch of zones, but like Car, you can use it from everything.
Probably car.
I think rotation by Quad Crusher because it's more fun.
Cars is more safe.
I prefer the car.
But overall, like Quad Crusher, yeah.
If it's like a very good thing or very bad thing, because if it like helps you a lot, then arms. Then imagine what you can do with that.
Legs, I think.
Thing is, if you gave someone else bionic arms, like obviously they're super strong, but you're super fast.
Bionic arms because it would make me stronger.
Legs, I guess.
Yeah, I would prefer to have bionic legs probably.
Yeah, I think I would go with spike traps.
Ooh, I prefer spike traps because they're just way easier to use.
Poison dart, I think.
Spike traps.
Spike traps have always been there. Obviously they're not there now, but like poison darts, they're just annoying.
I think my mom is gonna be watching, so home cooked food is very good, I think.
Home cooked food does definitely taste better.
I prefer home cooked food.
Mama's home cooked meal.
Home cooked, yeah.
My mum's not the greatest cook, so I will say takeaway.
I think I prefer snow.
Sands, like sands, summer, beach, it's just good vibes.
I'm born in summer, so I'm going with sand.
Oh, I mean, like outside snow, but I'd rather be like in a sand place.
Snow. Sand gets in your shoes.
Mid of zone.
Depends which zone, right? So I guess I'm just going with center.
I want to be in the middle. I don't have to do anything. I can just sit in the middle.
Edge.
It depends on the zone. Like some zones you can play edge and some zones you can play middle.
EU on top, of course.
I would rather play an A, but EU is better.
EU is just... I mean, NA is good, but come on boys.
EU is way better than NA.
EU, obviously.
They're both great, so we're just a big community, you know?
There you go, EU on top. It's settled, it's confirmed, it's debated. That's it. We can never come back and make this debate. It's done, it's over. All right, quickly shifting gears. Let's talk about predictions. Which duos we think could either get themselves that victory royale or end in that top 6 and move on. Remember, 12 duos moving into finals. And of course, you got to take a look. Me and Levin, we're in agreement. But also, check this out. Reese Hub is in agreement as well. That's right. I sit amongst kings. And we all believe that Floki and Clement, now I will say, I'd like to go ahead and openly state this so Reese Hub doesn't get mad later. He did say he was going with them at the end of the show yesterday. I foolishly forgot, and I was like, oh, I mean, first person, I think it's them. He reminded me, so Reese, you are correct. I'm kind of jumping on, you know, this bus as well, so we'll see how it all goes. But we only have 30 seconds to go, which means we got to keep the ball rolling, getting ready for the competition today. So let's kick it on over to Casters to take us into game number 1.
Yo, thank you so much, Zeke. 11 Sundown. Awesome analysis and lots of contested POIs that we're going to be looking at. Obviously, number 1. Reese, how's it feeling, man? Back on the casting desk. Floki, Clement, talk to me. Why them?
Look, I'm comfy here, firstly. Secondly, I hope Floki and Clement are going to be comfy as well. You know, they've switched up drop spots from something that's been super uncomfortable so far from Chonkers. Now going over to Camp Cuddle, where so many of the teams so far have qualified through. It just seems like every team that lands there is making it through. So, you know what? I believed in them yesterday. I believe in the change. I think it's time.
I believe in, you know, that one team that didn't make it in having a chance to do it again the next day. We saw Malusi, I believe, do that yesterday with Hydro. Ken and crew have that chance today, but it all comes down to game 1 and what actually happened. So without further ado, let's get it going. All right, the last day of the semifinals, the 3rd iteration of this format with an extra game in towards the end of the day. So 6 games, Reese, 6 winners, and then also the top 6 rolling through as well. Skyzoo, Raxish, so many different teams in these spots, and it's going to be a huge clash because there's so many new teams coming in, people flipping up their drops from yesterday as well. It's just a hodgepodge of Fortnite all across the entire map.
Especially into the towers that we're looking at right now. 4 different teams all landing there. All the teams also a little bit less experienced here. You know, we saw Skyzoo's moved already from Sleepy Sounds yesterday. Firehunter's been landed here in a bit of the Cash Cups, and Sanji was here yesterday. But as a whole, none of these teams are top-level tilted teams. You can see that they've already managed to get like a good kind of split early on. But after that, that's what I'm concerned about. Where are they going? Where are they pushing? What loot are they getting? Like, how much are they actually managing to split? Are we fighting? Like, this is clean so far, but I think it's going to turn into a bit of a mess soon.
that kind of reminds me that these players might have some form of amnesia rolling into these games and trying to remember exactly what do we do after this spot? What is the actual gameplay? Because we're here, we chose it, but we don't actually play it a lot of the time. You're absolutely right. And yeah, this is actually very surprising. I mean, guess not maybe for game one. Only one duel kind of down. I would assume with everyone coming in brand new, you know, not even knowing what building to take. Off the glide, at least, everyone's chosen a passive type of angle, and they're looking good so far.
Yeah, and on that map in the bottom right, you actually saw that first zone's pulling down to the south. We see Bofink was in that area who may come round for a little third party there. If there's 4 teams, that's definitely something I think he's going to look over to as we move over to Snazy and Nate. The team that we saw was going to go landing for the Llama as well. There was a potential here for a little bit of contestation, a little bit of fight with SLQ and Slovey, but they don't seem to be anywhere near in the vicinity so far. So off the bat, Snazy and Nate already almost capped up on materials, got tons of heals, got everything to work with so far, outside of a little bit of a far zone, but they've got the majority of what they need so far already.
And off the bat, I'm doing breathing exercises, getting my straps ready on the bar. This is one of the heaviest games I've seen, Reese, in recent memory for the semifinals. 97 players alive. One duel's made a mistake somewhere on the map, but other than that, I think everyone's finally kind of locked in and they understand the gravitas of the situation, right? This is the final day to get towards the prize money, to get towards the prestigious lobby of the 50 best duos in the region. And it is Raffarillo and Crazy who've been here since day number 1, I believe. Finally looking like they're winning off of spawn. Reese, this is brand new and it's looking good.
Indeed, it seems like they're actually up on the hill at the 7 outpost this time, whereas yesterday we saw, I mean, to be honest, they were everywhere, right? They were down below when it came all the way down to the war, where there's like a couple chests down there off that kind of northeast side there. A little bit of loot to work with, but when you had so many teams like Refsguard and Scram yesterday that was fighting them off spawn repeatedly, they were just struggling left, right, and center. It was just, let's be real, it's pretty horrible off spawn overall. So this time seems to go better.
Yeah, you talk about the struggle as well. You talk about off spawn. I mean, talk to me about how a game like this looks. If there's these many more teams alive, we bring in Storm Surge into the equation. Is it worse, easier because there's more teams alive to maybe get picks on? How does it change?
I mean, it's a really interesting dynamic between teams who are contested and aren't. Remember, like, Victory Royale is all that matters so far, okay? So, well, not all that matters, but in game 1, let's be real, it matters significantly more than everything else. What do you think the Victory Royale is the all-qualification slot? So, for in games like this, right, those teams that we've just seen that are contested, Crazy, for example, Rafilo, they've got a ton of their surge already. Now, unfortunately, it's a max distance zone for them, so they gotta go all the way from northwest to southeast, it seems like, which is a little bit rough. But for a lot of the other teams, they're gonna be panicking. They're gonna be struggling right now because what we've seen so far in Tilted with the 4 teams here, no tags, nothing at all, no damage, just basically just harvesting, getting whatever they can so far. So there's going to be teams right now who are shaken, who are really nervous, whereas some of the other teams like Crazy hopefully are going to be a little bit more confident with the damage that they've already managed to get off spawn.
Oh, very nice. But past that, once these teams starts moving, right, I'm picturing either Kid in a candy shop. There's lots of options to choose from, right? That could be a potential for the whole lobby. Are we kind of looking at that, or maybe more of a, you know, last minute trying to get onto the train, but the whole city is going to one concert, so the trains are kind of full. There's not that much room to move. Which side is it kind of more leaning towards?
So here's the thing, right? Think about this like a school assignment, you know?
Yeah.
Procrastination is the uttermost thing you want to avoid here. Think about it like me. If I'm doing a uni assignment back in the day, I'm up late night, last minute, and I'm not doing anything before that. Somehow I may still pass if I'm lucky. Somehow I may not. Right here, you're seeing teams who are doing studying. It's 2 weeks before the exam. They're studying, they're putting it in, they're getting their damage off early. Whereas there's other teams in the lobby who we've seen multiple times across the weekend, procrastinated, jumping straight in the box at the end when it matters, 50-50 and hoping for the best.
True. And to put it like that, then that makes a lot more sense. And don't procrastinate, kids. That's the kind of lesson Reese is, you know, preaching right here. Just get your damage tags. Play correctly, find a hill somewhere, preferably not next to Mr. J.O. Wolfie that we're looking at right now, because these guys are, I don't know, procrastinating 2 weeks or like all inning at the start of the assignment. You know what I mean? Like, they're kind of crazy with it. They're not taking it easy 2 hours per day. They're looking to finish the project day 1. Yeah, this is kind of nuts. And they're still just kind of bent on pushing this fight. This entire box is half wood as well. Krusty, Relvis, they don't want anything to do with this.
On. This is a slow game. This is probably one of, if not the slowest EU game I've ever seen. And I think one of the reasons we've got to put that down to is the fact that you've cut a lot of the the tier 1-ist, the top of the top teams out of the lobby so far. And now the teams you're getting is the tier 2s, tier 3, some of the best players in the region, but still some of the players who aren't as comfortable in a game like this. They're not going to be ones who are going to be super aggressive like the Taysons and the Thomas HDs, because sometimes they're not as comfortable just taking those fights. As we see in the Elipede Pena, a guy who was extremely comfortable taking those fights in qualifier number 1, jumping straight into Chico's box there. And we'll see exactly what Swift Wolfie is doing.
Seems like Chico has had the complete unfortunate end of every stick from day number 1. Over and over and over again. It's just, you know, someone diving into their box time after time after time after time. Now we look at Wolfie and Mr. J getting a little bit of an advantage, but still not all ending. I think everyone's kind of understanding that, you know, with these many more teams alive, there's an even higher chance of a third party. There's a hill you might not be used to having, you know, occupation on, just rolling in and then just, you know, getting an angle you wouldn't expect at all onto a fight. So we'll see exactly what's good. Krusty and Relvis are going to be looking at what to do from their box for the moment. Flying in and around the map, we have Kong as well. Chonker Speedway is looking busier than usual. Highway gates, or highway lanes, should I say, excuse me, are also kind of traffic jammy overall on this side. And this is one of the most aggressive POVs that we saw in recent memory as well when it comes to just fight straight off spawn. No one is hesitant whatsoever when it was controlled by Floki, Clement, Letshi, and Swilliam as well. But with one of those duos gone, the other may be looking to be a little bit less aggressive overall and not lose their entire progress over the 3 days. Might have a lot of differences at this POI.
This fight has been messy. A POI that's been consistently rotated into from every team around. We know the fight's going on over and over again between Clement's team, who's obviously dipped out right now. And we see this kind of repeating yet again. We've got the Kondo teams who are pulling on in. We've got the teams who dropped here to start with. It's just been a mess day after day, qualifier after qualifier. And, you know, honestly, for today and all the way up for the finals, it seems like this POI is just going to be a mess on this region forever from my side.
I feel like in the finals it might get a little bit better because then someone maybe has a little bit of control, but even then it just feel like we're watching better teams go at it, you know what I mean? Like it'll just be more back and forth.
Yeah, it'll be the same stuff as always. This is the team that we just talked about who left that rotation. So far seems to be working out well for them, given the fact that they ended up switching up to Camp Cuddle from that drop spot. And, you know, we often saw them not coming off spawn, but here we go. Here's that first map, fully down to the south. The second zone is pulled to a really awkward area of the map. You can see there's barely any teams in here to start with, just purely given the pure southness of how far that zone is going.
There's barely anything there in the zone at all. I don't see trees even spawned in naturally. I don't even see hills. It's like we're playing on a creative island entirely. I'm not sure who that even benefits, but with everyone having to move, Reese, that's less mats overall. With nothing being there in terms of big buildings, there's less to farm as well. There's less to do in general. If you make a little bit of a mistake, it might be even more visible to most teams. What I'm seeing right now, though, is strength from Clement and Floki on the screen. I haven't really seen these two in this much control, landing damage tag after damage tag in this fashion at all. It might be, you know, the amount of teams that are alive right now and their spot, and maybe the zone has kind of blessed them because everyone does have to move past them. It seems so easy, right? Just a few steps, you're right there, Greasy Grove, you're in the zone, but Floki and Clement, they'll have a toll for you on that bridge.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they're set up to do, right? Notice the timing of this that's really nice. They set up early, the teams start to spray around them. They got a bunch of tags there. What was it, 100, 120, maybe 150 damage? Now they're on the rotate. We saw there was almost no teams in the second zone already. So what you're probably going to do is do the exact same thing. Hold people at the gates yet again, get a couple tags, stagger, and then move even further south again. Repeat until they're basically potentially on the dead side and above Storm Surge.
You want to be able to just be in those patterns. A lot of the times these vehicles help these teams with that pattern, accelerate their gameplay to a certain standpoint, you know, from the in-between. I feel like that's where most of the mistakes happen when you're going from point A to point B. That's where you get kind of bogged down. So Jetta Flowis, I mean, they kind of struggled with even the vehicle gameplay yesterday. It feels like they were being picked apart over and over again.
I mean, yeah, their off-spawn was rough. Then their mid-games, if they got off-spawn, weren't any better at all. right now, it seems to be exactly what we're witnessing. That little late rotation, just all those other teams who managed to get up ahead of them, the teams who are rotating behind them, now getting the spray. And look at the materials drained at this point. Flois was on 140, already down to 85. Andrea's probably used a ton as well. The HP started to dwindle away as well. And this is their rotary, I was going to say up the hill there, but also the Floki effect. The fact that they got in before everyone else, they can get those tags off and they can be the ones damaging the rest of the lobby and then getting ahead. From Flois' POV now, it's like, now they have to get a refresh before moving. That's just changed this so fundamentally for their game plan.
Yeah, and you can see a few wood builds coming out from Flois as well, back and forth. Might not mean too much, but in the grand scheme of things, if the zone keeps pulling certain ways, if teams are looking for certain angles and you see a whole metal box with one wood wall, it's a big weakness, and sometimes you forget about it. It can be exploited.
We've seen a lot of weird stuff over the last 2 weeks, you know, of cars flying through wood walls. We've seen just people jumping straight through these wood walls with a double spray SMG. A lot of things that should not happen to you if you're a top level team. And if you're placing that single wood wall, you're letting people know that, hey, there's a potential weakness in this armor here.
Something I've noticed over the days too with the desert, rightfully so, you know, right in the lane of that biome and the theme, people seem to run out of stamina faster, Reese. I'm not sure if it is the sand, if it is the sun that's kind of glaring through their scopes and their eyes, but these guys start to run, they start to get a little bit more lethargic. Even watching Flois and Andrea take a few more shots while trying to base up, it never happens anywhere else on the map.
Yeah, everyone gets a little dry, right? They use a ton of their materials earlier on. The problem is because a lot of the sight lines are really open. There's specific hills that you can sit on to jump in boxes exactly like this as well.
What am I watching?
Mr. J and Wolfie, I'm not entirely sure this is what we exactly talked about, but it's gone round to Wolfie and Mr. J, who've lost now to Boofink and Bevies as well. I thought that was 100% going to go down to the way of Mr. J, but, well, seems not.
I think Mr. J had like a comedy special open on the other screen or something, started laughing and his aim went all wonky. That's the only explanation I can come up with, because there's no way Belby should have survived that long with like, what, 30 HP against two different players. Meanwhile, we'll look at some of those day one stories still rolling in. Vortexia, Castery, watch their entire graduating class basically move on to the next stage of life when it goes to the finals. They're still here, Reese. They've been aggressing so many different duos. They're still playing that type of role. And I think it's going to be even more dangerous now with so many players still alive in this lobby.
Yeah, game one, the assignment's been failed, and in all honesty, they're struggling at this point of the game in every single session so far. The Storm Surge has been an issue for them. They've been a team who's been taking fights every time, and that game was absolutely no different. This has been significantly more stacked than every other one, and look at the chaos in the lobby right now. Cheating and Glubshy going down in the bottom right. Andrea and Flo are still up in this now after taking that engagement, getting the refresh that we just talked about to put their materials all the way back up there. Like, that is that moment. The panic sets in almost once Storm Surge becomes active. The players start jumping in who have procrastinated.
It's wild. You definitely don't want to be late, and even judging by the way teams are still just boxing up, not taking free tags on anyone else, I just see fear across the entire town of this lobby. It feels like I'm watching a big Gotham City. You know what I mean? This just looks like scared citizens left and right. They have no idea what happens during the night, and right now, it's just tough overall for everyone. Just stuck at the right side of the zone completely, not even moving in whatsoever. I get it's very tough, and Dread Flow is find a little bit of a pocket of just perfect timing. They get to move in, but 24/7, if there's a team I can pick out that ends up taking damage, making maybe one error with a build, it's this one. And so far, they are fixing up those mistakes. They're getting right in, using Rotary's vehicle as a distraction. It looks good. And trying to finally in with Flois, and they have a refarm as well. Looking like they've kind of picked their game back up.
Yeah, you can see the kind of chain effect of the rotations earlier. The late rotate got them held earlier. Now they're finally into good position, but again, they're getting held from rotate and rotate. This is exactly what we just missed out on earlier from the other POV, Boofink and Bevies now going up. This was just basically the 50-50 spray fight. This is sometimes, honestly, what you're going to have to do when you're getting aggressed by a super talented Let's Reveal team like Wolfies and Mr. J, where they're just going to run straight into your box. You are going to have to hit the shots. Just try and do what you can in the exact same case of Cheating and Glubshy there. Getting a team pushing them in. Storm Surge weren't able to hit the shots that they needed to.
Is it called like a wish stick? The one where like it's like two branches and you have like two people trying to pull it apart and see what's the bigger branch? You know what I'm talking about?
Are you referring to once you've eaten a turkey?
No.
You get the wishbone. Is that what you're trying to talk about?
I used to do it with sticks, man. I don't know why, but it feels like that's what I'm not eating trees or anything, but that's what's happening inside these games. It's just two teams getting into that sticky situation, literally, and then just pulling at it. There's not that much strats involved. We're not seeing crazy pinches. It's so last minute as well. It's just chaos.
You're talking about like a Christmas cracker, really. Trying to pull on each end, see who gets the party hat, and it's never me. And clearly it wasn't cheating in Glove either, unfortunately.
You put party hats inside the cracker? How does that work? Because I haven't done that either.
Never.
No. Do you get like a party hat as a prize, or is it inside the Christmas cracker?
Inside.
There's a hat
joke.
inside. Is it?
There's a joke inside that are always atrocious.
Okay, true.
Okay, Christmas cracker. Beautiful thing. I'm telling you.
I'll look it up.
Worst joke. You'll get like nail clippers as well. It's always like this most useless little gift in there.
Pretty useful if you have long nails, though, right? There's always a circumstance.
But if you have long nails, you won't get the nail clippers. You'll get like a notebook that's like 2 inches wide and 3 pages. It's just useless.
True. Take some notes about personal hygiene, pretty much. At that moment, right?
I should cut my nails.
Basroki Kylie, okay, what is wrong with this team right now? Because when I think about this name, I'm saying, you know, maybe day 2, day 1, they qualify. If not through the pop-off, through the consistency. I always call Fasroki kind of like the invisible demon of EU. You never see how he gets all the way towards the finals, but he ends up there. I can visibly see this man shining every single qualifier now, but also shining in the wrong ways.
I agree with you on that, right? And I feel like a lot of this is just because as a team, they haven't really found a home. It's always on the south side of the map. They've been landing on like the Impossible Rock and some of the qualifiers, which are just obviously kind of to the north of Kondo. They landed in Kondo today. They've been a bit all over the place. And I feel like that not finding a home has just left them a little bit uncomfortable here. I'm still thinking now today, now that they're back in Kondo, they have the whole thing uncontested. Like this is where they started off their FNCS journey, that this could be them in a comfortable spot, right? And you'd think with the South Zone, this should favor them. But looking ahead, they're 168 below.
Have to try to find some damage. 94 above now. They're looking fine. And yeah, 3 teams that we usually watch struggle with Surge. Looking really good so far. Fast working with the pad as well. This should really be a very good game for him. I see Nova going down, so might be a tough roll for Hardfine, but he finds the trade on his symmetry. It's looking all good for now. Another team to also talk about, Snazy, Nate. I feel like for those two specifically, they were just on screen moments ago. It all comes down to Nate, right? If he is playing very well on the day, that duo graduates. They get to go to the finals. Snazy solidified in there. But Nate's always that wild card that comes in and either makes that duo one of the best you've ever seen in the world, or sometimes just mediocre.
Yeah, we'll see which mood he's in today. Has he work? Has he practiced? You know, Nate is a player who's typically, you know, not been a hard worker, but some people out there would suggest that he could be one of the best players in the world as a fragger, hands down, because his aim is absolutely unbelievable if he just sat down, put in the work for it. You know, he is the previous SNCS champion from Chapter 2 Season 2 in duos with Andalex, and I want to see it work out, right? I want to see him on top. Same, obviously, with Snazy being an incredible player.
For the format as well, we do have like what, 11-ish teams rolling in overall in terms of looking at, you know, the new in terms of how things look overall. It's like I think it's like 7 total that are actually rocking through, but we'll do the math in a second.
No more
but
math,
it's me and
please.
you for some reason, man. It's like we talk about school, we're also just absolutely atrocious at math. But there are a bunch of new teams coming in. Snazy and Nate are one of them. There are a bunch who this is kind of, you know, their first rodeo. You mentioned Rotary as well. Him with Control, it's looking good. They're rocking in too. For a lot of other teams, it's going to be the same old Storm Surge issues. It's going to be a combination of both old and new for Raxus right there. First day, and also one of the teams limited by that Surge problem. They'll have a little bit more experience rolling in. 6 games in total to play today.
They're one of those tilted teams we're seeing, and exactly that huge contestation of spawn clearly didn't pay off. They weren't able to capitalize on the fact that there were 3 other teams there. And maybe we're going to see in the next couple games, these guys starting to get into a couple more fights. On the right-hand of your screen, you're seeing Cruel and Kane, a team who's been here, I mean, through it all with us all weekend. Yet again, also struggling with Surge, now going down into the engagement. They're leaving Kane alone as a solo. Still tons of materials left to his name, but not enough damage. The strategy's just not there today, not having as many teams contest him off spawn and cover.
Cruel had the launch pads as well. One of the win conditions for them to go straight through. That's 2 pads down to that team right below them. I believe that's Skyzoo. Actually, that's Crazy and Rafa that are bullying them right above. And if they find that body, it's going to be huge. I'm not sure if they have it just yet. They actually have no idea where Kane is either. They're just looking for the loots. Unidentified completely. They need this refresh too. For Crazy and Rafa specifically, we watched them a little bit awesome. We already talked about it. They're also one of those, I believe, day 1 teams, and they've been struggling. But this might be the game. 2 pads next to you somewhere. A chance to just bounce up and go the whole distance. But that side of the zone is also looking completely weak. You look at the left, look at Andretta, look at Vasroki. They're looking healthy. Every single inventory slot filled up, and also way closer to the zone.
I want to see this be their time to shine. I'm not sure if they do have a launch pad off spawn though. This is the time you want to be using it. First move in zone, and they are set up in such a good position in terms of their verticality, their lair to open up as well. We do see the Pepper coming out onto Andrea here. A bunch of players on the left side hitting the launch pad. Now's the time to Pepper. Now's the time to see where things get moving. Storm Surge, no issue at all. So this has to be a good game from Andrea and Flois.
This is their redemption arc right now. They do hit that pad, not blocked. Looking for Andrea. Flow should be right behind him. Everyone already just immediately building up. The server's so clogged, 50 players rolling in. That's maximum capacity. And Jenna now down. I mean, he'll always take damage. I feel like that's his trademark. Every time right before the landing, and Flow will find him too. Fast Rookie Kali, one of the last to fly. Chulex up there too. They actually re-hit the pad. That will be huge. They're basically skipping an entire zone. Look at that timer, 20 seconds. And they're still in the sky. They haven't used a single material for this entire zone race.
That's lucky because they barely have any to work with. Only Wood now down left onto Fast Roki. This means that the first move in zone is going to have to be a one where they get into some engagements. Look for those refreshes. Fast Roki on the left trying to go for it. As we see on the right side, Kane goes down there too. Now also 47 below the Storm Surge. But there's so many players at the back of the zone, but the beam comes through. No, and he's going to go down. There's just going to be Kylie left with 27 builds to himself.
No chance for a bounce back either. This is a maximum pull. I'm not sure if that Pepper did come through. I do see the steam coming out of Kylie's ear, so here we go. Uses 3 chunk splashes, but staying in the same spot. I'm not sure exactly if you gain any HP at all, Kylie. It is what it is. I'll have the 50 pot back, but now Storm Surge is also striking. 30 players, so it turns off. Kylie sliding, dipping, dodging, ducking, getting through every possible build, but he has to be efficient because 272 mats. I mean, he's at the end of the line here, Reese. He needs to find something as Chulex and Chico, who's back in the game, are alive and at high ground.
We also saw Flois there going for the high ground. He was one of the players in that piece at the start of the show that said high ground's easy, but it doesn't seem so easy for him quite yet as we move back over to Kylie, who's getting the whole focus of the lobby right now, sprayed onto his wood wall, down left 3 builds, and he's going to have to try and get out there. The shot's connecting to him from above, but he has no shotgun to work with.
This is going to be tough, even at the front side of the zone towards the bottom. Go-Go's and Gilius back and forth over and over again. No one has control of what actually low ground looks like. Chulex, though, and Chico finally finding a little bit of space. 3 different layers between them and Bevies down below. It's going to be really good for them to hold on to, but I know there's going to be some surprises. Gilius going down on the left. Relvis also trying to go for a few clutches. Chico is putting down the pressure down below, but here comes that retake potential. Roofing trying to go for it, trying to gain some control of the game, but no, Chico and Chulex too strong. Look at the investment, though. Only 4 materials on Chico. They have all in. They need a refresh, and they're just on 1 wood tarp.
There's no ammo to spray from at all up above. They have nothing to work with. Some team is almost definitely going to try and take the high ground as we go back to the low. Clement down with no builds. 1 elimination to his name. 44 HP down the shields, but can he hit anything? Can he work with? Can he get an angle? He's playing so slow. He's playing so sneaky, slippery, but no, it's over for Clement.
He gets taken out. That's Kaizen coming in from the left side, and he's also trying to make his job work, but it's not going to be possible. He goes down too. Chulex and Chico have just stayed hidden. I get it. 0 eliminations. I mean, this is perfect for them still. The elims won't matter if they make this game the utmost, absolute, complete, efficient one by getting the victory royale. Chulex and Chico, all they have to do is land a few shots. Chulex has 7 materials with 4 total teams still alive. They need to find something. They have to get into this conversation fast because there'll be so much siphon down below. I still see some hard materials. There's only have 4 materials too. They get one of the trays on the left side. Looking for the confirmation on the solo towards the right. Bevy's down. See if they land the shot. Chulex is now getting close and personal too. They must be out of materials, and so is Nyzen. They have to get Boofink here. They're looking for a few shots. He does rattle him down, but he chooses to stay with his teammate. Work with that synergy. 2 guns for the price of 1. That's what I'm talking about. Boofink is now down. It's all up. The Chico and Chulex up above, but they've got no match. It's a final brawl. The showdown comes through. Chulex goes for the 1-for-1. Nyzen is towards the backside. Left side, right hand peek. It's not enough. The Salsa King Chico knows how to dance. That's what I'm talking about. He has the angles, and he has the VR.
That's the one, the 1v1 clutch up back of the zone. The shots mattered. Everyone had 0 builds, almost 0 ammo, but 100% aim connected right there. For Chico Trulex, that is massive. Trulex obviously already being an FNCS champion a couple seasons back. And now Chico, this is the first time for him making it through. And these guys have had a great season so far. I mean, a fantastic season as a duo so far. So it's looking good.
It's looking stylish, my friend. That was a stealthy win. We don't get to see that too often. All they did is build up a little bit, shot a few shots, and then we watched Chico dance. That's what I like to see, and they're going straight to the finals.
Yeah, we obviously know Trulex from when he won the FNCS as a high ground player. Interestingly enough, honestly, I've just seen this duo play a ton of low and still managed to pick up victory royales, so that it's a little bit of a change up from what we're normally used to seeing from them.
Yeah, but what changed? What stayed the same? A lot more for game 1 to break down with Zeke Levin and Sundown.
Thank you guys so much. Great game number 1. This comes down to 2 duos that have been here since session 1. This is what we talked about at the top of show, Sundown. It's a brand new day, but could this experience from day 1 have helped kind of both of these teams make it in that top 2?
I think the experience definitely helps. One of the biggest things is actually being able to win those top 2s. And you see, they're a little bit different from all of the other seasons now that the zones are stretched out, with just trying to go back and use any of the excess materials that were there. But maybe even a little bit of a misplay from Niacin not going immediately for that Siphon to get the drop mats from there. Let's take a look, though, at the victory route, because it really just came out, Levin, because of their high ground control. Not a whole lot of eliminations till the very end.
Yeah, see, you're talking about experience, but, like Reese said, this is very different to what they've been doing in these past couple of sessions, right? And maybe that is where the experience comes in terms of the switch up. But look, Trulex, he must have called up Queasy, his old teammate. He said, look, Queasy, look, I've been trying the low ground thing. It's not quite working out, bro. Give me the high ground. What I got to do to get back on the high ground? And it worked, right? 2 eliminations. Very rare. Like, I'd love to know when was the last time you saw like a 2 elimination victory royale where you literally the only eliminations you get are the ones to win the actual game. This is things we've not seen in a while. But look, congrats to them. Of course, they've been playing, they've been slumming it out in these past couple sessions, and I'm sure they'll be relieved to just get over and done with now.
I know. And then you look kind of the other side, right? Kaizen and Iaizen. They come down to this 1v1, and on the flip side, these guys have a ton of eliminations, right? I mean, it is kind of weird, Levin, going from 2 to then like looking at almost 7, which would for them would have been 9. It's not traditional, right? Like, we're so used to seeing these high ground teams win. Even like, I would say like the lowest we've seen is like probably 4, but to just get 2, I guess, Levin, you get the 2 that matter, right? You get the 2 that matter, you get yourself a trip to the finals.
Yeah, look, Kaizen and Niacin, they'll be all right, right? 52-point game, that's a massive game. You have to remember, although they didn't get the victory out, like, this is good in terms of being on that leaderboard, in terms of, being consistent, trying to be here at the end of the last 6 games. I think, though, if they're able to set up a refreshes the way they did in this game and consistently do that in end games, sooner or later, they will get their victory royale.
Well, that's kind of how it works, right? If the team on high ground isn't pressuring, isn't picking up elims, there's just more for whoever ends up winning in that kind of low ground scrum. Yeah. And that went down to Niacin and his duo. Niacin in particular was the one who was finding a lot of those shots and giving his team an opportunity to win the game. And everyone's just kind of holding on, right? They want that victory out, but we got 6 games to play, Zeke. Well, 5 now.
5 now, right? And I think for them, right, they did come in second, and it's still like a confidence boost, right? They're like, yo, we're on it now. We're fired up. We almost got the victory out. We're close. We just have to keep pushing. Just run it back exactly the way we did, right? So once again, another big congratulations. Chico, Trulex, you guys have found yourselves a seat on the battle bus heading on to finals. But remember, victory owls will auto-qualify a team, but we're still looking at these standings. The top 6 will make it on through as well. Kaizen, Niacin, after that first performance, they're up there in that number 1 spot. Other teams, though, Krusty, Relvis, right? Senna, Raid, they're looking good. And I mean, how are we feeling about just the initial, I want to say like this first game, right? I don't like to use this as a test or a feeler, but thoughts on this maybe first initial game, Levin?
Well, for a long time, nobody wanted to actually go down, right? Everybody was trying to stay in this one. A couple teams here, Stena, Raid, for example, maybe you would have thought they would have snuck in a bit early in some of the other sessions, maybe. But ultimately, Sundown, these standings will change a bunch, right? Like, in terms of who's in that top 6, right? It's going to get very chaotic over the next couple of games, especially after how that first game went. So I'm not going to read into anything just yet, right? Maybe after game 3, ask me again, Zeke, and I'll give you a bit more into, like, spoiler alerts as to who will qualify. But for now, I'm keeping my cards close to my chest.
Well, one of the things I always look like when we're looking at that leaderboard is what do the points look like in 6th place? And currently in 6th place was a duo that I actually wanted to talk about a little bit yesterday, didn't get the opportunity to, was Till and Julian Common. Till's actually been having a really solid season, kind of sneakily. We've seen him in nearly every important EU lobby going through there, and they've put up results. Now, they did miss kind of that first duo pool there, but so far, 32 points in 6th place. The general pace for the regions that have been broadcasted has been right around kind of 25 or 26 points in those 5-game sessions, so they're just above that. But also, our first place is double that pace, so they're going to feel pretty good about it.
Look, Till won the first Cash Cup of the season, right? And I think from there, right, it was signs that he is, sort of putting himself in a position where he is going to start getting a bit more respect. But you have to deliver now. If you don't make it to the FNCS finals, you know, what are we doing then at that point, right? So huge couple of games coming up for them.
That's right, boys. I mean, look, we still have 5, right? Again, game 1, it's just a feeler, it's a tester. You know, let's check everything. Let's check the routes. Let's check the duos. Let's check our settings. Now the competition begins, okay? Game 2 is going to be very different. We may still see a lot of duos remaining, but as far as action, we're going to turn it up a notch. So let's kick back over with our casters and priests. It's Shy Wager. This is game number 2.
Thank you, Zeke. Thank you, Levin. Thank you, Sundown. Game number 1 is it. Great feeler out to figure out. We saw a lot of the top teams, a lot of the teams that we thought would go through, kind of go down a little bit early, struggle with the surge. That was probably one of the most stacked games that we've ever seen in EU history. And I'm wondering, do you think game 2 is going to be the same?
I think that theme definitely crosses over towards game 2, and even from the early to late game. It's a game of survival now, Reese, right? No one is dominating anyone else. There's some people just picking up the scraps left and right, rationing eliminations 24/7. I feel like it's a completely different Fortnite, and we won't see this in the finals either. It's a very special treat for the last day of semis.
Yes, because everyone's looking for the win at the same time. Like I mentioned in that first game, some of these players, you know, they're just trying to make their first FNCS files. The nerves are kicking in. I think that first game's maybe going to kick them into overdrive a little bit, where they're going to be a little bit more comfortable now. They know the lay of the land. They know where the teams are around them. They know who's contesting. They know where they can land to take advantage of that. So I think, you know what, 12 minutes before, like, we saw Wolfie and J-Mop go down, and that was like so deep into that game, and it was only team number 48. So it's like super stacked.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you're talking about the lay of the land. I feel like it's also been the same from day 1 to day 3. Rocky reels, desert, 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 sun, sun, sand, sand. I want to see some mountainous snow. You know what I'm saying? I want to go all the way up to Logjam Lumberyard. I want to see exactly what the north is looking like. I think we have like 2 games there in total. But speaking of 2 games, game number 2 is live now. Let's jump right in and see where we land from that battle bus.
We go semifinals, day number 3 for the European region. We're into game number 2 of 6. Game 1, as we already set up, was an absolute blast. No pun intended production. We will see. And where we're starting off, we are looking up at Logjam up at the top right with Crazy, who ended up winning out that fight in game number 1.
Winning so hard that this team has disappeared.
Oh, wow.
Off the island. This is the first time I'm looking at the spot, like at least this early in the games. Completely uncontested.
I mean, this spot has literally been contested. Qualifier 1, Qualifier 2, Semis day 1, Semis day 2, and now this is the first time I've seen it uncon. So you're very, very correct in saying that.
It's wild, man. I'm used to watching a Crazy fight go into like a 2v1 that's not supposed to be close at all. And then it just happens again. But already 3 duos going down a very different game. Snazy and Nate, we talked about, yo, let's get these guys online. Okay, Silk, he's going to become a trapeze artist, it looks like. A little bit of circusry going on right there. I like it. Stylish, but he probably doesn't like it as much as Snazy does. A free elimination, that team will be basically having to get a card that's all the way up in the sky.
Ooh, this is important. No, this is not what we saw last game. We saw Mixon obviously going down to Surge, really struggling out because they didn't get into any of these engagements right now. But hold on, he's piecing up Skyzoo right now. You're trying to make him think second about getting that knock. I'm thinking this was a knock outside of Sky. That's potentially going to be the finish coming down. No, not yet. Jock's now trying to go in as well. Trying to hit the shots that he can. Ooh, this is such an awkward fight to try and box up on the stairs. The big shots connect and it's over. So Skyzoo and Jock's now, it's going to be, I think both eliminations go in their favor as well. 2 straight off the bat. Cleaned out their side of Tilted Towers already. Already such a different game from game number 1.
Absolutely. I'm seeing 1 less sniper shot in Skyzoo's inventory as well. So I'm wondering maybe that was, you know, the start to all this. Maybe a very well-placed shot right before in the sky, maybe even, or when it was landing. Could be a highlight reel, but we'll tune into just a second. Still a pretty stacked game, because usually, what, 86, 85 players, but at this point, it's still 91. We saw that first echelon of, you know, 10 players, 6 players going down in the lobby, and this is with 1 less team playing overall as well, right? 1 team qualified, the lobby will be automatically smaller, but it's still looking just as large.
It's potentially the players just don't want to engage. You know, Kadu and Frey, we saw yesterday some terrible engagements down on the southwest side of the map. Just team after team. It was Vortexia's team that was coming in. They were fighting game after game, and they've decided to switch up to the Sanctuary now, and it seems to just be a little bit more passive for them. They've managed to calm things, despite the fact that there's 3 total teams here. Otix and Sindri had a kind of a similar feeling where they were just fighting Rest Guard and Scram yesterday, but it doesn't seem like their inventory has benefited from them not being in the lobby.
Yeah, I feel like their nerves are also kind of on high gear right now. That MK7 is very easy to be able to track and just, you know, rail down enemies, especially now looking right back at you, only getting about 40 damage off of an engagement like that. LETZTES has to be just, you know, beating himself down currently right now.
Imagine if they gave that to you, the AR master. That's a 150 damage right there. That's 150 easy.
They might just give me the victory royale and just, you know, just to get me out of the lobby straight up off of that.
Straight to finals.
Shotgun though, I can't use those. That's you, right? You're the shotgun expert. No,
I can't have a shot with any gun.
Expert. I feel like
I'm the
a little bit of piecing. Yeah.
I'll piece everyone up, and then I'll be that guy who's in the box, and I'll just like do a 180 and miss the shot. I'll be looking the wrong direction. Like my eyes, you know, they're starting to deteriorate as time is going on. So once you get in the box, I'm blurred out. So the piece happens, it's all there in the muscle memory. Then the aim, you know.
That's where we need Levin, right? I play with this guy, and like I feel like he doesn't have shotguns, and then he has boxing gloves. You get in the box with him, you are not going to be able to see for the next few days. It gets crazy.
True. Oh, did a plug for Legends Landing if you're watching in game. Hello, firstly. Secondly, there's a nice little box fighting arena you can go into there, where Levin continually hit me with a shot, despite the fact I boxed him every time.
That's what I'm talking about. Slick segue too. It was fun, man. I went in yesterday. A few of my friends were there too.
Oh yeah,
just checking it out. Yeah. Sweet times. I'm in a Floki though. Oh no,
waving at yourself.
Was I waving at myself?
Yeah. Were you like, you know, with a little delay? Were you in there like, that's me?
Oh, I was like, you know, watching a side stream type beat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was in there, but I wasn't in there. You know.
Yeah. In the business. Yeah.
You know when you have a story, you just have to make it like slightly more outrageous, just so it fits the narrative. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I did that.
Our entire jobs.
Very true.
Yeah.
Oh man.
This game slowed down a ton right now as well. We got to look at this. This is a lot of teams. Kovacs and Formax were the first team to go down in the previous match, going down 50th off spawn here in Shell or High Water to Sindri. This game, they seem to have disengaged a little bit, figured out exactly the tactics of the other team. But this is just one of those scrappy fights that we saw. It's kind of such a weird place to fight as well. Like we saw it basically day after day in the semis. We've seen it in the qualifiers as well. Teams are consistently fighting over this area. It is not worth it, boys. It is just not a split worth fighting for. You know, you might as well be one of the tilted teams. I'm not gonna lie.
Honestly, it just feels like a very awkward, anxious spot where like you expect movement and it's not happening. Kind of like when you have like a lot of groceries in a grocery aisle and the person's not pushing the conveyor belt to get your items. They're like, do I have to move them up? You know, do I have to do something as Lepshi right now, or will the other team actually move my items up to get scanned? That's the real question.
And that's why we go to self-service. You got to do it yourself sometimes. You just got to make sure it works out. If it's not working out for the team, you got to put that plan in action yourself.
Gotta input the numbers for the produce yourself, which is also super tough. End up just not buying vegetables then, you know what I mean? And that's not good. You gotta get your nutrients, so. Alright, Clubsy cheating, they're rocking right now. Worst example, by the way, in that scenario is when, like, you know, back in the day, obviously, when I was younger, I was with my mother, groceries. Now we go by ourselves as grown men, obviously, yes. Of course. But she's like, you know, gotta get that extra item. I'll be right back.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like a 10-minute delay, and you're there, sitting as a young
racing. Where the Glubshies was in the middle of this fight right here as he's picked up that first elimination. On to Mr. J again, the team that went down 48th in the previous game. Now 46th in this game, so a little bit deeper in. Unfortunately, not deep enough to get the placement points.
Listen, if the format had like, what is it? Maybe 40 games today? Yeah, they could get first with this type of pace. Not gonna lie, you know?
They could
just keep it up.
I mean, they've been an incredibly aggressive team, and what's interesting is, like, you know, consistency with 4 games left. Are they going to win a game? I think they could. Are they going to get that consistency of the top 6 with the 2 games, basically 0 points so far? I don't think so. You know, I think they won a game in qualifier 1, if I'm to be correct. Maybe it was qualifier 2. So they definitely have the potential. They're like a very aggressive high ground or nothing kind of team. And, you know, we've kind of seen that playstyle a lot of times just reflects in their playstyle in mid and end game as well.
Definitely does. It's confident is the one thing, right? But sometimes that overconfidence is how you end up making a few mistakes, getting taken out. And I feel like Crazy and Ralph are basically the complete embodiment of that too. Very confident and always all inning. They never make decisions that kind of leave them halfway between 2 spots. They either pick the right choice or we'll see them in the next game. So
yeah, and I'm actually really interested to see now because, you know, we kind of mentioned their off-spawn difficulties they've had repeatedly up at the 7 outpost over to that northwest side of the hills here. This is the first game that we've seen them with no issues off-spawn. We've had no contestation, the loot absolutely stacked. They've got the Spider-Man's web shooters. I want to see if these guys are a finals level team. Can they actually put the plan into action when it matters?
Yeah, it's kind of the first time they don't have a curfew, right? Like, usually they're only allowed to play a certain amount of the game, but if you have experience with that, Reese, it's like you honestly don't know what to do some of the times. You're like, okay, the sun's down, but I'm still out. Like, do I keep, you know, driving around? Am I still chill with my friends? How does life work? And for Cool and Kane, oh my goodness, what a shot from Cruel. And Kane also wraps it up. I feel like they're angry today. If I'm looking at emotions from teams, you know, 12th overall yesterday on the board, or 7th, whichever way you look at it, they were right there in qualifying, just a few points behind. I think Zeke pointed it out at the end of the show. If they got this one elimination inside their box, they would have had a chance to play the end game, where so many people just graduated and qualified. They didn't. And then today in game number 1 as well, off one of the strongest spots, having 2 launch pads, they weren't allowed to play. I mean, you got to be frustrated there.
Yeah, and I think at the same time, like, these guys are Cash Cup players so far. They've done really well this season in Cash Cups. They're in solos and duos, whatever it is, they're always there. And they are so confident, they're comfortable in that environment. Even in the set lobbies, as this is relatively new for these players. But this FNZS is not a Cash Cup. Completely different set of games we've got lined up. And I think the first 2 qualifiers, the first 2 days of semis is kind of a tester out. Now today, they're just feeling confident.
Like game 1, though, or just, you know, this day in general is very, very different. We would assume it'd be a lot easier for a bunch of the teams that have been there since the first day to just adapt, get used to the way semis is being played, and be able to just replicate and improve their results overall for a day-to-day. But just this feels like a different portion of the competition. It's like a final semifinal, you know. Like if there was another stage in between, it's like a 3rd place match or something. I don't know what to call it, but this is a very different game. What Kane and Cruel were doing in that game 1, the positions they had, even Floki Clement, the positions that they had, it seemed perfect for them to just go ahead and win the game. But it's so stacked, Reese, and these Storm Surges don't have, you know, 2 or 3 teams down bad. It's 5, 6, 7, or 8. That changes the way, you know, every team has to play. You have to be even more defensive inside your box. Instead of having 100 damage being dealt, you might have to have 300 overall. Completely different game of Fortnite.
Yeah, and I think the teams that are going to really thrive today are going to be those experienced teams that are going to play across those 6 games, not those newer teams. Potentially some of the Victory Royale teams, maybe, but the teams who've been around for a long time, played games like this level stack, can handle themselves in this environment where there's realistically like a lot of stress, right? This is the last chance for them to qualify through to the finals. If you've been there before, a lot of these players will be able to stay cool in that if they've just been here for a long time. That being said, you know, I said about Kane and Cruel, maybe they're just, you know, who cares attitude after a while. They've said, this is the last chance. You know what? We're capable of being there. Maybe we just fight. Maybe we just win. Maybe we'll be okay.
You look at, you know, the teams that have kind of qualified from Covert Cavern, they have been a little bit confident in that aspect. They just go for some of these fights. 2 launch pads in your inventory, you're still going for these crazy beams. So maybe it's time to just, you know, go ahead and activate Cast Vortexia. I'm not sure how to solve that entire enigma. I mean, from day number 1, aggression hasn't worked. Passivity on day number 2 also didn't kind of work. They have a combination of both. We'll see if it's possible. I'll have FastRoki and Kylie go for a fight. This is on Wolfbeam. We know that Mr. J was taken down previously before, maybe from an unreasonable spot. Kylie's in the box, but it's looking kind of messy. FastRoki's there to clean it up.
Yeah, pretty easy fight. Once you've established where the solos are at, that is such a key skill to have in duos. You know, seeing the signs when a player is a solo, basically being boxed up in a single box, always a key sign. In particular, when it comes to like a 3rd, 4th, 5th zone position, you see a guy who's just sitting in one by one. You think there's no way there's 2 people in there. You can get straight into that engagement, as we see Kylie getting beat big time by Symmetry. And I feel like this is potentially a situation for Symmetry where they're one of the less confident teams in the lobby, a newer team, and they're just sitting at that edge. They're not willing to take this fight despite getting a, what was that, 150 beams straight off? A lot of other teams in this lobby would be hitting that.
Absolutely. Kylie even is on that aggressive angle. He went for a shot back instead of an immediate build, which caused a, you know, 40 tag to turn into that 150. He distracts a little. FastRoki moves. It's very nice. We watch Kaizen also taking a few shots inside the pond. Lands here and there. That 2nd place team from game 1. Imagine having 52 points off of game 1, and you know it's around 120 to qualify. You're basically halfway done your job.
It was 120 with 5 games, so we're probably at that 150, maybe a little less. given the amount of players. We'll see. Maybe a little more, given the fact that there'll be one more team out in that final game. So yeah, I mean, they're on, it's roughly about, what, 25 points a game? So then being on 52 now, they're definitely way up there in terms of the leaderboard. So I think you've got to be confident again. I mean, that's one of the real tests of strength for today.
I'm not sure if it's confidence or just misjudgment right now, but 100 damage below Storm Surge is not going to be the best thing. Pre-edit's coming in though. Kaizen is aware of everything that's happening inside this box. On the front side, he finds a few damage shots and then turns immediately to the left, gets a few more, and that'll get them all the way above. That's 172 damage in like, what, 7 seconds? Kind of insane from this duo, but they're hot off the press. They're playing an insane game with 8 eliminations in game number 1. They're still going forward. It's Boofink that's going down to just 1 HP. Bevy's up top. They're split apart in ways that they can't even help each other. That's kind of very unfortunate. The Aizen gets a very good isolation, and after that, pressure's all the way up top. They're looking up now. Bevy's, it's so hard to be able to get a shot down and then be able to build after that. Your head is also a little bit more exposed, so you'll see those headshots coming in. 27 damage tag is huge for the Aizen. He's still putting the shots down. You see Kaizen just jumping like a groundhog looking for a few shots with that shotgun as well. This is such insane pressure to deal with. I don't think Bevy's can handle it. He's backing up. I'm not sure who has the pre-edits, but it looks like it is Kaizen with them. That's moving in. They're really utilizing all aspects of Fortnite now, just amazingly in terms of a fight, and it's almost wrapped up.
And you saw Niazen just spraying with the SMG, right? He doesn't have a shotgun in the inventory. That fight could have been over. That could have been 2 eliminations there while he was sitting ADSing at the player up above if he had a shotgun and then switched over. But they, with that kind of double spray with the SMG, you know, it gives and sometimes it takes away at the same time. You miss out on that big 1 hit of damage at that exact first time, which probably would have picked them up there, that another elimination. Now they seem to be doing great on materials and everything else outside of now the ammo from that. So I'm not sure how Niazen's going to be able to fight when they get closer into another engagement. And here we have a kind of similar story from across the weeks. Lecce and Swilliam struggling a ton with Storm Surge again out of their drop spot, the full south side in Chonkers. They've had teams fighting them. Even when they've won those fights, they've still managed to struggle here.
Well, she's struggling with inputs even. I just saw 2 shotgun shots randomly put down, and even the builds are looking a little bit wonky on the backside. Might just be the pressure. This is really unfortunate. It looks like he's just toppling down. Spinning top kind of losing its acceleration completely and almost coming to a standstill. 10 above though, still not the best place to be. With only 1 person needing to go down, that number shouldn't really change, and he has the guzzle to be able to get all the way back up. The thing though, Reese, that's unfortunate, in this position, it's hard to really find an isolated fight. You also aren't going to realize that people are sneaking up on you. You do have Kong right there with Symmetry. They're looking for an angle.
At this point, you got to be a slippery pickle, man. You got to sit in the corner. You got to wait for people to come around. You got to go for this kind of spray down here. This could be the exact moment, but oh yes, the player does go into the box. That Symmetry picked up at this exact moment. It's now the 2v1 situation. Lecce can now push up into that solo player up above. And that was a huge refresh. Only 33 builds from that, so it's not going to get them fully up, but they did manage to get the majority metal, which is fantastic. See the solo player still up above. And this is definitely a fight worth taking, but you can hear the attraction from the rest of the lobby now coming in. They've got eyes set on this fight. They know something's gone down here. And despite the fact that these guys have to try and find a solo, they also have to figure out a rotate. So they have to figure out which path they really want to take here.
Kind of in no man's land as well. The majority of the lobby will be clashing in towards the left side and then the right side as well. Lecce's kind of just stuck in the middle. That entire complex of 3 duos will have to make a decision to go either way or risk going through the middle. Kali and Fast-Roki do find a few items based off of the team that was trying to bully them before. Looks like that fight ended very quickly. You don't mess with Kylie on the zone line, my friends. It's not a very good idea.
One of the most aggressive duos in the entire... I was going to say the entire lobby, but realistically, like, in the entire season. Like, these guys are scary and almost too scary, you know? They do things that just aren't good for them because they want to fight. And there's a few teams in that. Andrea Flores is the team that I would say is the complete opposite of that. They're not a team who's just going to fight straight for the sake of it. However, yeah, again, we just see on that far right-hand side, Lecce now actually managed to find the solo. That is more builds. This team that he's managed to pick up the eliminations on had so much metal. It seemed like that was the only material they hadn't used, which is a huge resource to be able to get back up here. I'm not sure if there's going to be anywhere they're going to be able to get the brick back from because they don't seem to have any time to do so, but that could have just got them hugely back into the game. See the Storm Surge threshold comes up on the right-hand side. 195 seems to be where the threshold's at. Yep, and they've got 51 damage. Quick maths would make it think that they've done 250 damage so far total. And now into a good spot, right? They need to do a little bit more to get up above. And they've really recovered this pretty well.
Absolutely have. They're a little bit ahead of all the other teams behind them, though. This is going to be unfortunate to find an angle. Every team will be editing kind of left and right, looking at each other. Lecce and Swilliam are on the up and down angle. They will not be able to find any windows or boxes to be able to be a part of the conversation of bullets and beams. So I'm wondering how they adapt on that. Coming in Floki though, they've been keeping up with the damage. Gonna be in the same lanes as everyone else who are making edits, and that's a good thing and a bad thing because their match should be a little bit strained. But at the same time, they get to have engagements just like this. Hardfind and Nova. And Nova's taking a big shot. That'll up them up to 133. We look at some of the other teams too. Syndra and LETZTES. We saw LETZTES miss a few. They're up against an armored wall. There's no chance, my friends, that anything's coming out of there. You don't need to look at it. So they switch things up a little bit. 2 above Reese. This is tough.
2 above, 10 below. There's so many teams boxed up right next in this moment, it would seem. However, it's Floris and Andrea. This could be huge. The pre-edit play with the ball comes out. Andrea gets straight in the box. He's going for the 50-50, but Floris is nowhere to be seen. It seems like he's being picked up at this moment, but no, LETZTES goes down. Sindri down to 1 HP, 1 tick to Surge. He actually has managed to pick up that knock onto Andrea. He's got up above Surge as well, but it seems to be a trade 1-to-1. He hit the bump shot that matters, gets him way up above. Floris now left as a solo with almost nothing left to work with either. This has been absolutely devastating for both teams involved in this fight.
Floris made one of the most heroic decisions I've seen when it might be all for nothing if Andretta's body does get found last second. Sindri goes down. Floris blocks the shot that took out or would take out Andretta to maybe keep it alive for the revive, but it doesn't matter at all. That zone is starting to move. He took the damage for absolutely nothing. He's Spider-Man swinging all the way around. No one's looking at him. He goes straight towards one of those airdrops, and it's an all or nothing play. He's going to be using this launch pad to see what he can do, but I don't see it popping out of the package. This is unfortunate. He doesn't have that rotation.
Floris isn't really known as a solo player yet. He has had some great solo placements, 21st in Chapter 2 Season 3 solo FNCS, but he's not known as a player who's, I'm just gonna be that guy fragging out at the end. We're getting a ton of points, so I want to see it. Let's be real. I want to see the big clutch from him coming up. He's been a player who's been here since day 1 of the semi-finals. He said yesterday it was his time to qualify. He felt confident in it, and in all honesty, it definitely was not their time because they did not play up to the standard of the level of team that they're at. Today, I want to see it.
Seeing a few good things, but still one of the patterns from yesterday for Floris' team was the fact that they were choosing some bad spots when the zone's starting to move, or, base selections where they get isolated out and their backs are always to the storm. It happened there just again, and Nate will also be one of the solos we'll be watching. He has a pad though, so expect to see him a little bit towards that late game. Niaizen, who had 52 points, second place with Kaizen, doesn't have his teammate down as well, so we've kind of found all the god solos to look at, some of the best players and a potential for their clutch. I do see Kane and Cruel still alive, and they will have 2 pads center circle. The zone does move towards the top as well.
Look at this loot. Nothing to work with. 50 builds. Doesn't even have a lick of heals in his inventory to go with. Nate on that far bottom left. On the bottom right, we see Floris. Every single solo basically with the same amount of materials, everything to work with. But Floris on that bottom right does have the Spider-Man's web shooters to get himself to that front side of the zone. Everyone's just going for the rotate, but that low level that Floris has decided to land at may be unfortunate for him here. Over the top, Niaizen hits the launch pad. This is looking rough for all the solos.
It really is. When Niaizen's making the most out of this one, he finds a pad, excavates it from the ground. This man, the archaeological beast himself, will find 2 ways to just keep up in the air. He goes for the recycled pad as well. Meanwhile, Nate will hit another one. 2. Floris still surviving. Looking at the bottom right side, 3 different solo stories, but which will fall first seems to be none due to Surge. They're all looking good so far. Nate and Floris have the best chances with that Spider-Man swing.
Absolutely, Nate's still got the most material still with 103 in the inventory. He's managing to pop one of those chugs, splash the backside of the zone, but pulling yet again another max distance zone. We said if Nate was on fire today that these guys could qualify, and it seems like he's definitely playing to some of his best capabilities. The bottom right, Floris now picking up an elimination in the backside of the zone, and it's on Niaizen as well. The 2 POVs we watched clash head to head, go back and forth, and now Floris is doing the exact same thing, going from the back of the zone up to the front.
And this man had a teammate. That's a height take right there. Definitely. I saw the momentum there too. He had to calm himself down. Letchi is still alive in this feed as well. He's finding a few back and forth. 18 different teams still up. The maximum you can really have at this moment. They're all going to be moving in towards that 7th zone, turning into 8th. It's a slow pull a little bit. A nice bounce back to get everyone to think about what to do next. Floris is right below Height, and that's leader. And Irazumi, who've been here uncontested, I feel like since day 1 over and over again, looking to see if they can have a chance to win a game. Have to hold on all the way towards the very end. Nate, mid to low ground. He's looking for his chances as well, but now he's really coming up against a lot of duos. There's a lot less space to work with as his zone shrinks and gets smaller. It's all up to him to see exactly what to do in a 2v1, but it's a leader actually getting challenged all the way at high ground. The Mats are not going to be there to sustain this type of play. He has to fall.
He has to do what he does. Down on the low ground, cheating and Glubshe's managed to hold it up that high, but no, the fall damage goes down, almost down to 10 white HP. That was a single tick. The Charlie Chunk Splash coming on out. The battle for high ground has now started. The 50-50 mechanics have begun. And it seems like they're in good control so far, but this pressure is not absolutely stopped one bit.
A little bit of repeat for Glubshe. Still, we know how much this costed leader and Irazumi down below. Glubshe will have to hit this swing, and he does, and that's exactly what I want out of a web zip. But now just 40 mats and another big chop down. This is trouble for Glubshe overall. They're all in here on these builds. Have to find a refresh and a shot. It might just be a few more ramps. On the side of Cheatin, Nate, though, goes down inside the feed all the way towards the storm. Floko's there too. Zekot is trying a little bit to survive, but he's getting bullied by an entire duo. Floka gets invaded inside the box. Clement is gonna have to just work as a solo now. That was an absolute big surprise. I didn't expect it. Was Cruel that came just crashing in, and Irazumi now also keeps the dream alive. Up top, they find a little bit of a siphon. They have a chance to stay up. They have a voice, and Cruel is taken down too. Armored Wall to keep things up. Another elimination for Irazumi. 6, and that's on the meld. They have what it takes, Reese, to take this all the way home.
Yeah, the backside of the zone, getting a little bit of materials wherever they can work with. It was just the Siphon Mood now. It seems to be down the 2v2v1. The solo, nowhere to be found. It's hiding in the box, and it's Alex called. His clutch teammate Z Andy had his moment 2 seasons ago. Will he have his moment in this single match? But up on high ground, the materials have dwindled away to almost 0 on Irazumi. Older with 0 as well. The spray, hopefully going to be enough. The ammo, they found him. They've hit the shots. The launch pad comes out. We'll see if this can work. It's a 2v1 situation. It's a game of Kovacs, but he's in the tree at this moment. The chop will come down. The fall damage somehow still not over. The chop comes out, and it's Clinbury who goes down in second, but Irazumi is going to pick up the victory and qualify straight through to the finals in game number 2.
It's a day of height holders and winners. Time after time, they are denying any chance for anyone to retake them and hold on towards that finals run. They get a ticket straight there towards the next stage. What a fundamental game from leader Irazumi.
Absolutely. Seemed like a weird one in the end, right? It just kind of fizzled out so quickly there. We've had so much weirdness going on height. Fights back, left, right, and center. So many retakes just from the same people, right? Determination will get you there eventually. Oh, leader alongside Irazumi were the persons who were on it to start with. They got it taken from them, and they said, you know what? We're going back up. We're taking it again, and we're taking home the victory royale.
Where did they get the mats from? I swear to God, I saw these guys run out like 4, 5 times. Were they spotting it in? What's going on? They just have wood to use and armored walls as well. That's a big tech. We also see a lot of the time, Reese, but that was just an amazing game.
Amazing game all around. We'll see what our height teams can do in game number 3, but first, let's break it down to the desk.
Thank you guys so much. Fantastic cast there on game number 2 of 6. My goodness. Irazumi, Ovalder, you guys have made it through. Super well fought. And yeah, just kind of going through and just finding those little windows, right? And be able to say, like, look, we know we don't have the materials, we don't have the resources. If I have to take a couple of ticks to storm to potentially guarantee we can get this victorial, it's worth it, Levin.
I'll be real, it was hilarious just hearing Reese describe that game. It's just a lot of weird, just weird, height takes, weird eliminations, weird mount counts. Like, it was weird. And I'm not gonna lie, it was weird. I think this is what you expect from these sort of reboot round type of games where it is just back and forth. You don't know who's on high. He was on high a second ago, but now he's eliminated. But now he's back to lobby, but he's on high again. His teammate actually has Matt. His teammate didn't have. It is all over the place, but you know they were able to come out on top there, and I don't expect anything less from these games in terms of that level of madness.
And I think one of the biggest things is this game in particular showed is how important it is to be up as a duo. While so many people are just clinging on for whatever placement points they can get, knowing other people go down looking for an opportunity to solo clutch, if you are able to just stay hip to hip with your teammate, it makes that last fight just so much easier. And how many games now have we seen where there's just a plethora of solos at the end? And if you have an extra person, I'd say your chances are that much better.
Another team from session 1 picking up the victory royale. And I gotta just keep looking at the rest of the lobby, right? People like Floki and Clement, once again, we see them up there making it the top 15, but they just can't piece it together. They had a pretty decent start, Sundown, but you know, once again, this is just chaos. It's just mass chaos. Everyone's trying to win. Everyone's trying to contest high ground. And in those moments, like, you just have to be able to know what you need to do next. And for them, it's just not clicking. I'm not sure what it is quite yet.
I mean, I'm fine with where they're at. Keeping an eye on the bottom left-hand corner. They were in 3rd place coming to this. They picked up a bunch more elims here. I think with that victory royale team being pulled out, their push maybe into 1st or even 2nd. at this point in time. So while, like, yeah, the early game, there's a little bit of question marks going on, they found a lot of success on that kind of backside of the zone scrum. And during those highlights, a big reason for that was their priority position on that half in, half out zone. They were just on the inside of it, but they had the clear route ahead of all the other teams who were on that western side, and they ended up picking up, I think it was like 7, maybe an 8th elimination there, so they should be fine.
Yeah, that was,
so far.
That was still a high point game for them, like a 42-point-ish kind of game, right? That's the kind of game that you'll be quite happy about if it was, let's say, the FNCS finals, right? So I wouldn't be too worried. Lack of awareness there in the backside of the zone while trying to get in a limb. I'm sure these guys will be all right moving into the next couple games. They're doing all right.
So do you guys then think they're playing for the victory royale, or you guys think they're playing for the placement?
I think they're playing for the victory royale. I just think in that moment there where we saw them go down, it was literally just like, you're in the backside of the zone. Any top Fortnite player knows you're in the backside of the zone. Things happen, right? There's going to be a solo lurking around or another team trying to drop down to get eliminations, especially if you're on low ground, right? That's where people go when they're completely out of everything and there's no hope left in their games, right? So if you're not aware in that moment, you can get taken out like that.
Yeah, and I would just say, ¿por qué no los dos? Why not both, right? They're playing for the end game in this circumstance, right? They just want to be there. They're trying to stay hip to hip. In worst case scenario, they're able to get results.
I like it. Okay, that's good. That's why I was like poking and prodding, looking for this answer specifically. But once again, congratulations, Irazumi and Avolder. And again, I'm so sorry if I say any of your names wrong. You guys can just tweet at us, let us know how to say it correctly. We'd love to take a moment to do that. But we got to turn our attention to the standings. We already got a little bit of a glimpse, a little bit of a sneak peek. Floki and Clement coming into second place as of right now. Now the bubble, look down into that top 6. Right, we've got 2 teams tied at 57 points, which is good for them right now because they're keeping the 54 out. But if they continue this tie, they could potentially get pushed out. Kane and Cruel, another duo we've seen performing very well, right? Right underneath them, Flois and Andretta over at Sleepy Sound, right? They made their return back there. I mean, there's still so many duos that we have seen performing. And again, it's just about like that experience, right? I think that my big question mark is like, how well do we think they're performing against like these 2 separate player, right? From session 2 and now session 3. Do we think these guys are performing well? Like session 1 teams in like specifically.
I'll leave that for you to answer, Sundown. I want to hear your thoughts on this actually.
Oh,
I mean, I would say the biggest thing is just looking at the number of teams who are actually in the lobby. There's only been 22 duos who have been pulled in. One of them was out yesterday, so there's 21, whereas there's 29 who are still there. So they still hold the majority of the pot. But there's something to be said for experience, right? You've been playing kind of in this slightly semifinal format. There is one more extra game there, but you've had a little bit of extra reps going in.
Yeah, I think ultimately it does come down to the fact that as much as there is that experience there, right, like we've talked about, there are so many changes that are happening. Even in this session, in terms of game to game, there are loads of changes. But from the first session to now, it's night and day almost in certain ways in terms of the way the dynamics around the map actually work. So again, even these session 1 teams, they've had to make big adjustments. And some of them I think are struggling, but I do think some of them, going into these next couple games will finally start to feel that kind of sort of rhythm going in.
Love it. Perfect. Yes. And that's what it's all about. Adaptability, right? That is what makes a good duo, and it's a mark of it and a testament to these players' skill. But for now, the battle bus is all ready. It's all warmed up, so we're going back with our casters for the next game.
Thank you so much, Zeke. And yeah, Levin's kind of right. Adaptability is one of the things, and depending on what day, it is going to be a little bit different overall with your experiences. But with this day being the last one, Reese, no matter what it is, you have to try to either win or be consistent enough to hit that top 6.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, a lot of the teams here aren't going to make it. And that's sad to hear, but there's got to be some of the big names clutch on up. We've obviously seen Floki and Clement across the weekend struggle. Today, they seem to be doing a lot better. They seem to be in their stride a little bit more. And at the same time, there's going to be a lot of those less known teams, the less experienced teams that will just have that pop off and keep their way up.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I'm noticing too in terms of having a little bit less of that experience overall of a set lobby in the lobby, high ground teams just get to have it kind of for free if it's early enough. I mean, the denial retakes that I'm watching aren't that extensive. And will there be a new challenge is the question, because game number 3 is right underway.
Semifinals, game number 3 underway. We've had 2 fantastic so far with them. Definitely challenging games in terms of stackness. End game, mid game, whatever it is. We've seen it all so far in the first 2. Starting things off with Snazy and Nate with some little bit more ease at the start of this time, not having SLQ and Slovey right next to them.
Yeah, but Pickle and Meld are right there. I don't see Kane and Cruel, unless I might have missed them directly on that drop, so possibly a change happening right there. But Wolfie and Mr. J, they'll rock it down at Coney Crossroads. We thought it'd be a little bit free so far for everyone possibly landing here, but that was not the case at all today.
Yeah, I mean, this was Ira zooming over to the drop spot, right? 3 teams have moved here from what was an uncontested drop spot previously. Like, this has been Ira Zumi's home for qualifier after qualifier, season after season. We see Firehunters move from Tilted. Jocks, who was originally on south side of Sleepy, has also moved here at the same time. And then I missed who that third team was right off the bat there, but they've also moved. So this has just become a mess. This is what happens when a team is removed from the lobby. Players think, you know what, I'm going to be the one who's going to go there. I'm going to get the uncontested drop. Clearly no one else is going to do that. Incorrect.
It's like musical chairs, but it's a very big chair. And like there also just can't be one winner, right? Everyone's kind of attracted to it, but man, the music has not just stopped yet. Still have a few more games to go, so maybe the adjustments come back in. These are kind of all misfit teams, though. You're kind of correct in terms of like, you know, they're coming from spots where things might not be working out as much. They're coming from places where they might not have a home, so trying to find one at a brand new drop you're not even comfortable with, and now there's more teams there too. You weren't even expecting this. It's worse off than your previous, you know, entire engagement.
Now, one of the things I'm actually thinking is SkyZoo's team was Sleepy Sound South normally, and then today they've moved to Tilted. So that's 2 teams from Tilted have moved here at the same time. So we were probably looking at Sanjin, Vav, Raxi, and Mixon should be chilling off spawn. As we look to a team who is not, which is Nova and Hardfine, a team who struggled a little bit. I know their Coach Harry, have been trying to prep for this off-spawn battle so far with the teams all around them. And sometimes there's only so much prep you can do. You just have to hit the shots. You just have to outfight and outclass the opponent, which is Malamo and Sirs, who's very, very, very understanding of this south side of the map. They've been landing here throughout the entire season so far.
Oh, things are getting crazy inside the crossroads, though. Lanes finally starting to clash. Wolfie, Mr. J, I feel like they're always going to be going either up and down together. Do have a little bit of clutch potential, but it's never one person making a mistake. They hold down the line towards the very end.
Look at that map in the bottom right as well. 2 more teams starting to rotate their way into third party. I'm guessing that's Volko and Pena on the right hand side. Maybe Bofink and Bebies on that far left, trying to go on in. It is indeed. This is becoming just a complete mess of a POI. You know, we saw the first 2 games with so many players still left up in this. We've got 5 players down so far, and I expect that to drop even faster right now. Yeah, the map's popped up in the bottom right. Thank you very much, production. It is indeed Bofink and Bebies moving on in from the Loot Lake on the far left. And then Pena's team was also taking shots in there. There is not enough chests in this. There's not enough loot for 2 teams to split. Fights here are awkward with 2 teams, but with 3 and 2 on the outside, third partying in, nada.
I'm like watching literally a half and half zone. It feels like this isn't even the first zone. Why is everyone
it's
here?
arena.
It's arena now, completely. So tough. SkyZoo Jocks. Oh, they're always gonna jump on a little bit of a mistake or, you know, an overpeak. And Symmetry, I think, kind of scared the last people these guys fought was Let's Use William. So they kind of have experienced maximum aggression inside this lobby, and they have been splintered apart before. So really trying to stick together. Meanwhile, yeah, Wolfie, Mr. J, as I said, Mr. J just getting taken apart as Wolfie nearly goes down. That's Symmetry just running inside that box, but unfortunately, they're knocked out between 2 different teams. It's a crossfire, and he can't get out. Kong already down, and it's straight into the face of one of his opponents. It's not going to be enough. That's SkyZoo just taking him apart.
Crossfire at the crossroads. We've got the 2 teams left remaining from this, which is the 2 teams who ended up pushing in here from a distance at the same time. Bofink and Bebies now probably pretty happy with what they've managed to get out of this. They've got their surge. They're currently 8th in the leaderboard. They're not looking to take any risks. They're in no way trying to focus SkyZoo out of that, which now just leaves SkyZoo's team in there as a duo, which, I mean, I don't know what's left. Hopefully there's enough materials. There's plenty of metal in that drop spot, but I don't know what in terms of a loot, what else they've got in here. And as we move back to Lotix and Sindri, who've moved into the south side of Sleepy Sound rather than being on that shell or high water over to the west of this, but they are fighting against Force and Wings. Yesterday, Sundown's prediction, who've now disengaged.
Yeah, I feel like Wings and Force overall got some struggles really just getting past that mid-game. Overall, they've maybe had incorrect decisions on where to position, because I feel like every time it's something that's going wrong in hindsight. One build not covered up properly, or maybe not being on a hill, instead being too low and not having enough of a sight line, over peeking for it and then going down. Here are some moments from Symmetry and Kong. Rolling through, and everything looked good for the moment. They're taking apart everyone inside the POI. Confidence is there. I saw 8 points. I guess they all got it from this game, basically. There we go, yeah. And after that, it was just absolute doom and demise. Wow.
I mean, that...
Hey, invest in a bigger toaster. Like, I don't know.
The same thing happened to both teammates as well. We saw Wolfie sitting behind the unfortunate long distance. And then another, obviously, there from Mr. J just sitting chilling at the same time, getting sprayed in the back. So maybe a little bit of caution needs to be thrown into the wind there when you've got two different teams contesting you in such a small drop spot. You've got to be aware of those angles that are going to come around from the back, get those sprays in. Use a bit of wood. Come on, guys. Come on, one build.
If you only have like 8 builds, that's a, you know, heavy investment you're asking for. But
well, now they aren't in the lobby, so place the wood wall. It's worth it. Trust me.
Here comes Nate and Snazy. I'm still looking for the magic, man. I just feel like, you know, I was here to watch a magic show, some magicians do some tricks, and I've only been watching, you know, the cup and ball 24/7 for a few quals. I haven't seen the craziness, you know, cloning or some type of, you know, it was actually twins the whole time between 2 doors.
You've not seen the rabbit in the hat yet.
The rabbit in the hat, yeah, exactly.
I'm hoping that's not the only tricks they have up their sleeve, realistically. Because, you know, 37 points so far, they're a bit in the money, 12th. They're on that leaderboard, they're in the discussion that we've had. But from this split, we've seen so much success throughout the FNCS so far. Pink and Anas, a qualifier number 2, won from this exact drop spot, doing the exact same strategy. I'm hoping that Snazy and Nate have learned from that. A VOD review have picked up the idea, but I already know that they haven't, because I understand this is not how you play that drop spot. This drop spot is about getting out of there way faster, getting set up on some of these hills that they've just driven past. And it seems like these guys don't have a great grasp of how to play that particular split.
That might just be a cost of adaptation, right? You don't have everything entirely in there. Andy, liking classic cartoons, wants to be, you know, the angel on the side of the foundation. I like it. Giving good advice, hopefully, on where the zone should go.
Which shoulder is on? Left side? Is that the good one or the bad one?
I think if it's Andy, either shoulder is good, you know?
Right,
He can just fly around a little bit. Okay, I thought this was about to just fall completely. I've actually never seen POVs of people on the foundation. He's like, I disagree. I want to choose.
No. I am the bad one. I am down. You know, see, Andy, I still think back to the Chapter 2 Season 7 semifinals clutch. See, Andy at the time, one of the greatest moments in Fortnite history created by this man right here. Do you think we're going to see that today? This is the final chance for them to qualify. They've been here all 3 days.
I've seen rays of light from this duo specifically, right? Over and over again, but I have not seen the sun shine. So you got Andy in a lobby that is a lot more difficult controlling height for multiple zones in the end game, but then going down to like a 4th retake, right? They're denying retakes from people that are just completely insane of the game. Tayson Thomas trying to go for it as well, and they're just like, you know, it's not happening, but they don't have what it takes to get to that 9th zone and secure the big clutch. And you're talking about Zandy with the clutch as well. I feel like in this format, especially in this day, it has to be a duo win that comes through. I don't think today will be a big day of solo clutches overall. I think it comes down to a 2v2 towards the end. I never see Zgot and Andy combining and surviving till that point. They're always kind of like a rocket ship. One part has to fall for the other one to keep boosting up. That might be so difficult to pull off today.
And that's exactly what we saw in the previous game. It was Alex God, still left in it. I think he was 3rd or 4th in that last game, so you're completely right. But this game could be the game. This is a far southeast zone. They're already at the home zone for these guys. They're comfortably set up so far already. A lot of these other teams are going to have to rotate over this. What is, quite frankly, a horrible zone. What a lot of the players think is the worst and most difficult zones to play in this current map because of just the huge bodies of water here. The rotations across these are so hard because the players who are set up early, like Zandy and Zigon on the right-hand side here, are set up in that high spot. They can hold anyone who is rotating past. So if you're a team in this particular zone, get down there early.
I just pressed my map bind on my keyboard by accident to try to get, you know, the whole zone's perspective. I'm like, that's not how this works.
He's muted me instead by accident.
We'll have to see in just a second. We get some different POVs of everyone that's kind of rotating in, and I'm just more so focusing on the mini map, at least on who's not zoomed in. There we go, Floki. Thank you. Yeah, it just seems like you just have to claim an island. I'm only really experienced with this type of circumstance, thinking about some of the instances in Chapter 2 where you're forced to go towards that, you know, top top left side towards the islands overall. You either have to make an all-in claim and hope it works out. If not, you're up to, you know, big costs. The fact that launch pads aren't as prevalent anymore is going to be so much tougher to rotate. We saw Fastroki and Kylie, I believe, yesterday, just in the water by themselves in a place they shouldn't have been allowed to be in. You end up with circumstances like that with no mats. It becomes very desperate.
They also came second that game from my recollection. They went deep into the end game. It was, I'm not sure if it was specifically second, but they managed to make it work. And that's what these teams are going to have to do right now. You know, we see majority of the POVs that we've gone to are either right on that edge line, as we can see in that bottom right map right now, that Floki and Clement. You know, in game one, we saw them kind of stagger, get to that good point in the zone, get some tags, rotate on. Right now, they're not doing that.
You can actually blame the pros for this zone 100%.
Oh, yeah.
If I recall correctly, we just had something roll on the pre-show where we asked everyone, any of you, some of the top pros, what do you prefer, the snow or the sand? And I'm pretty sure sand won like 8-2 or something. So it's their fault. We gave you what you asked for, and now it's, you know, water and sunshine, yes. No resort, though. It's people looking for Surge. That's the worst.
We have seen a lot of sand zones. You are... you might be onto something here.
Telling you, we asked. We literally asked.
This is definitely not the zone that they wanted when they had that in mind, though. Thinking we're in a full southeast water zone.
Oh man, Kane and Cruel still below overall. Floki Clement also finding some trouble. I like that instant armored wall from their opponents as well. That's really good to make sure you deny any type of big pressure. That's fast Floki. Kylie Kane actually diving a lot deeper than he can handle. He does not know how to swim in those depths. 22 HP now. And Cruel also trying to keep his head above high water, but there's so many different people acting as the opposite of lifeguards, punishing Kane and Cruel for diving in this pool. This is tough.
Lucky managed to keep the majority of the metal that they can use for later on if they can find somewhere to re-harvest some of that brick and wood, but I don't think that's going to be possible. I'm thinking this is going to be an engagement they're going to continue to go on to, and it seems to be Fastroki and Kylie. They've still got their eyes on. Yep, the walls replace the cones in the box. Oh, they're just trying to have to take another angle as they're getting sprayed by the entire lobby set up very early on here. Here we go, Fastroki and Kylie. This could be a rough one for them.
And that's exactly what they were looking for. A little bit of attention, you know, attracted towards them. It goes straight to Fastroki as well because they're in the front. Nice pump from Cruel. That is what I'm talking about. That is so nice to grab that attention, take the risk, and then actually use it against their opponent.
This is exactly what I talked about. The teams who are rotating late to these kind of zones will be punished. And that wasn't even their first elimination on Fastroki. That was because they were rotating at the same time, getting shot from the entire focus of every single player, boxed up early with eyes on the prize.
Ali and Barry, he'll also deal with inside the zone. It seems like every team that is below on Surge is right on that storm line. They've been edging in and out, and that's just because they've been delayed on their movement looking for shots. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked out. Barry's very close to that line. Mixon might be playing the next game in a few seconds or getting ready for it because 300 damage below. You're going to have just a 4-second beam on someone's head to try to catch up. This is going to be tough. Raxish has nothing in his inventory. Mixon 75, multiply that by 5. That's the damage they kind of need overall from this standpoint to be comfortable for the whole game. He's gone. Climberry's now also above as well.
All kinds of berries in Fortnite. Flynn, Leon, Clom, doesn't matter. But all we know is that these guys are currently below the Surge, but they're in the box. They're getting super aggressive here. The controller plays, comes out, and the knock is finished as well. So that's going to be a super easy elimination. The launch pad comes out from the opponent. I'm surprised to see these guys below Surge. Climberry is like a new and up-and-coming player in my eyes. I watched him last season do really well. I watched from his POV playing with Candy. He was such a smart IGL in my eyes. I was really impressed with his knowledge and understanding of the game at the time. So in duos, to see him doing well right now, big smile on my face, but also to see them, you know, struggle a little bit with Surge. Look, it's going to happen to every single level of player, let's be real.
Yeah, I feel like Surge normally, especially in this circumstance, is getting to the second zone when there's like room to actually move around and see people rotating in front of you. From the way you described Climberry and Leon as well, they seem the type to kind of have those mid-range type of engagements to stay up above that number overall. When there's water involved, when it's this zone specifically, you don't get to do your typical type of Surge route or, you know, try to condition the lobby in the same type of way. It's very different, and sometimes you just don't see people, especially being north side completely. Everyone just starts to run around the circles of the zone entirely, trying to stay on the land. If the middle is filled with water. So if everyone's island gaming and you're the only one that's kind of swimming or trying to be that lifeguard, no one's jumping in the water, Reese. You're not going to find any of that Surge. Maybe that's why Clint and Leon are struggling this game.
That was until the, you know, we just saw up in front. of them just getting beamed back. There was a team who thought they were going to go for some swimming lessons. It was Bevy's team. As we move over to Floki and Clement, just to see what went down here. The pre-edit play comes out to the back, and unfortunately,
oh my god, twice.
They were not ready for that. The pre-edit plays are so powerful in this season in particular because of those high fire rate weapons. You can spray through the walls so quickly and just start getting damage and initiate that fight with such big beams early on.
Now, Krusty and Relvis, this specific duo, similar
menaces
to Andy, Z-God, Kane, Cruel. They've had a chance at greatness. They've been at height multiple times as well. Fallen, though, at those times, and they've been up against legends taking that fall. A lot of those legends not in this lobby anymore, and they don't have zone right now when it comes to Krusty and Relvis. Is there a chance for them to maybe take a high ground win? Because they look kind of finicky, wonky. As soon as there's a little bit of interruption, they just give it up completely.
I just want them to take it at the right time. You know, I hope they've learned the lesson. This is the kind of classic story of a reboot round style game where winning a game matters. It's always teams who take it really early on in some of the earlier days or earlier games, learn their lesson. We're thinking all the way back to last season's Grand Royale with Aqua, just taking height first move in every game, and then finally the final time you took height in that kind of third moving zone towards the final moving zone, won the game. It's a similar situation here where Krusty and Relvis through yesterday, man, they were just on height at like the wrong time every time. First move in, fifth zone, whatever it was. They were trying to claim that way too early when so many teams are going to try and go for it. And there's going to be so many turnovers that you have to be able to play low and mid, take it later on, pick up the Victory Royale like we've seen in basically every other Victory Royale so far across the weekend.
All about that timing, and it might be a turnaround for Andy and Zeke in terms of playstyle or strat in terms of what's going on right now. They focus so much on position and not on shooting that they're below surge, where you can see the pattern replicate across the entire lobby. Krusty, Relvis, it is not their time. It's not their position either. Krusty is down at 61 points, so close towards the top side of the board as well. This is your de facto third place team, also just falling before they have a chance at high ground as well. They are down by the dirt for the moment. This is just tough as Relvis has to watch Krusty go down.
The amount of plays from solos we've seen today in endgame is honestly incredible. Last game was just a match of solos up until the final 2v2 situation, basically. It's the exact same thing now with Leon losing Clint. It seems like they're going to have to start trying to get in. He's wasting a ton of his hard materials trying to get in. The whole lobby focus comes across from every single player.
Yeah, it's just like a second or half a second of, you know, not building. Instant damage, 50 tag. You can see there's so many duels on this side of the map. It's impossible to move as a soloer now. You have to be perfect. You have to have someone covering for you as you keep moving because everyone's side by side. Yeah, Leon just offline for a half second, and once again, he gets taken out.
He had 2 HP. If he'd popped that big pot, you could have had at least a little bit more HP to try and fight with rather than going for the 10-second med kit. But unfortunately, those are the plays that you don't make in the exact moment.
Yeah, and look at the exact moment for every team in the lobby right now. No one has the next zone. It's Max, and everyone has to move in the Joneses. This is tough. There is airdrops active all around, but everyone's also down on Surge. They have so many decisions to make.
Spider-Man web shooter players right here are going to be in their element. Trees, cover, everything to manage to fly on through. You can see a couple of them coming all the way through. Fearless already making his way in. The players starting to launch pad over. Payna alongside Vocal making their way in too. I am scared for the players at the back side of the zone, but a lot of the home zone players like Ziandi, Alex Scott already made it in. This is their drop spot, and they are already in their prime.
And a lot of these players moved at the exact same time, so no one's even taken that much damage. Everyone's just built brand new bases. There might be a few walls misplaced, maybe traps set up for multiple different players. Andy and Z-God are kind of natives to this side of the zone. They're not happy that the entire lobby just moved here immediately with no paperwork whatsoever, with no, you know, discourse or conversation. Hey, maybe you can be towards my right. Do you want to move in towards the left? No one cares, and now they're kind of angry. They have the position, though, Reese, to control high ground. Timing's everything, though. When should they go for it?
Not now. I'm going to tell you that right now. Second or third moving zones towards the end of that. Now, this zone's almost definitely not going to pull to the east based on the fact that it's right at the edge of the map. Maybe I will eat my words. No, I will not. It pulls to the far west-hand side. So any of these players who situate them far deeper to that side are not in a good spot. We see on the far left-hand side, like Q-Rox, Lecce, in the kind of southwest side are in the best spot. Dead side can easily start rotating through that first moving zone without too much worry.
This is a max pull for the majority of the lobby, so there's going to be a lot of mats. That's M 3 times, and I'm hoping some of these teams can turn that M upside down, get a W, up inside this zone. They have to be a little bit efficient right now. They might be just a little bit all in for the moment. So Deox, yes, even as a solo, he's making that efficiency to the utmost maximum, moving in, recycling the launch pad by himself though. Take a look at some of these dual solo actives. Snazy, Nate on the low, we see their perspective. They're going for a sedan play. At this point of the game, kind of bold, but let's see if they have that navigation on point, going straight through the builds and jumping through mid-ground like a fire hoop. That's crazy. I'm watching a movie right now from Snazy, but he doesn't have the traction to stay on course. Finally getting off, but they saved so many mats and skipped a very dangerous part of the zone. He tarps in. It's going to be right beside him. It's up for Nate to get active now. We mentioned it at the start of the show, Reese. It's all up for Nate's damage potential. His prowess as a fragger to really put this team on the map and make them feel alive.
You put him at the back of the zone. He has some of the best aim in the game. He will pick up frags. He will pick up refreshes. He will get your team moving. I'm just slightly concerned about the material situation on both of them. Unfortunately, up on high ground, Lecce and Swilly have taken it too early. Yeah, again, look at the materials they already have. 44 builds to his name. Is he going to be able to get the refreshes from this point and keep themselves moving? Swilliam has enough, but we'll have to see.
It's a mini bounce back, so they can use the same mats a little bit, and they'll have less people trying to pressure them. Everyone right now is going to be focused on saving mats, maybe not going for a retake. That being said, though, for mid-ground, it becomes kind of crazy. People who are running out of mats might end up box to box. Some of the solos might start to invade certain cubes and boxes. We'll see if it's possible. Deox has to make that decision. He's very low on mats now, and he's going to be up inside Carby's tarp going for a few shots. He's going to get denied and shut down from the backside. There's more solos even behind him. This end game has layers, and he's one of the first ones to go down.
Campaigner go down in the feed at the same time. Cruel left as the solos. William and Lecce still up on the high ground at the same time. Z Andy, the clutch god himself, still flying to the front side of the zone, picking up an elimination onto Till, who goes down too. So they're still in this up as a full duo at the same time. Lecce and Swilliam's materials starting to dwindle away. The materials in terms of their ammunition still looking actually pretty strong, so they have the potential to get some of these refreshes, and if anyone's going to hit some of the shots, it's going to be a guy like Lecce.
Lecce has a tail right now as well. He's just swinging from tree to tree. It's looking crazy. Cruel with a nice little bit of a clutch and a big pickup and a few mats that he can use to stay on the slow ground, but it's duels that he has to deal with now. Elevating up, this is smart, just getting away from all that pressure. Looking good by himself, Kane in his ear too. You have to realize 2 days, almost 10 games of pressure on his back. He wants to just find that relief. He wants that win, but with Lecce and Swilliam on high ground, I don't think any team can get as aggressive to try to shut them down now. Nate and Snazy, they're close. They're looking for it. It might be a 2v2 clash, but the whole entire server gets quiet. Nate finds Malumo, so there's a little bit of interruption on that layer. Cruel, though, on the backside, has to try. Swiftly realizes there's just something moving inside the storm. It's a bush play that Cruel will actually try to delay and get past. That's crazy, but now he's kind of all in. No mats on the top right side. He's trying to do whatever he can. Goes for the edit play. The first beam's there. He almost gets the second, but he is denied.
Yep, still high ground held by the same teams again. The material's still dwindling down. The players down below, like Alex called, been picking up the refreshes left, right, and center, but they are picked up as well. Nate and Snazy still up in this as a duo. The low ground held by Nefrizi, losing Karma at the same time. Him also running down to low materials, trying to pop the heels, see what he can do at the same time. Getting pressured now from Snazy and Nate up above. It's a 2v1v1v2 at the situation at the same time on the low ground. He's dipped out of the box. He's away, but he's down as well.
Now we have Nate and Snazy. They're trying for it. Started up at mid, went up top, and now down. It's been a roller coaster of a game, and it's still going high speed. Look at the angles from Nate. They don't even exist. He's finding the shots. Lecce now low on HP, but there's a solo somewhere. They need to find him out because they can actually do so much damage to Snazy and Nate. It's Saka. He's focusing on height. He's going to go for a few shots. Does he land anything? That's a question. He has high ground against 2 duos. How's that possible? Clashing with low. This man is jumping and not going down. How? And he finds a few shots on to Nate. That'll be a little bit even on both sides. Snazy and Nate now, 2v2 situation. Matt's running low, but he finds a few from that siphon. 5 HP for Nate. Oh no, that's a big shot. It's gonna be very good for Lecce though. This might be the qualification for either team. It could go each way. He can't go into the storm. Lecce with the smart angles, the big peaks, and the pinch from both players. Lecce and Swilliam are going to the finals.
All weekend, they battled it out off spawn. Chunkers, day 1, day 2, it doesn't matter because day 3, they qualified through. The day that Floki and Clement were not contesting them off of there. A huge game for them. You know what? I'll be wrong. I said they're going to take height too early. I said it didn't look like a victory potential for them, but with some zone pullback, with some good shots hits, it's the victory royale.
It's Lecce, baby. He doesn't care. He'll just play the game. And that's what I'm talking about. It's all about the style, and that just looks so good. Once again, another 2v2 Reese. These solos having trouble going for the clutch.
Yeah, we're seeing like a big amount of pop-offs. We're seeing the points accumulated from a bunch of these, but not a single solo clutch winning it off. It's those teams who managed to stay in it as a duo till the end that are picking up the victory royales.
Yeah, now Zeke on one side, Levin and Sun on the other. Let's see them pinch down what happened in game number 3.
Thank you guys so much. Oh man, Shywager, what a guy. I cannot believe it. It's happened. Lecce, Swilliam, in case you don't know who Swilliam is, he competed in the Asia region, has come over to EU and said, look, I want to play here. I want to show everyone I'm good, that I can go region to region and still compete. And he did it. Levin, we've been talking about it for the last few days. What do you have to say about this, huh?
Props. They made it to the finals. We'll see what they can do there, but definitely not a team I expected to make it through. And like Reese said, the zones very much favored them here. They did well to get to endgame with what they had, right? You can see Ledgy still had a couple charges in the web shooters. The zone pullback meant that they were able to keep their mats relatively high. The zone actually messed up everybody on the low ground, son, and I know you wanted to elaborate on that a bit, but look, they did well. They win the game, and this is now their chance to get to the finals. It took them a while, don't get me wrong, but they finally did it.
Yeah, the half and half out in particular, their ability to claim the fact that it pulled off of that natural high ground, it made everyone else burn so many materials. And then the casters did a great job of calling it out, where that solo in between was going to dictate it. And while he did end up going up and then dropping back down, the refresh went over to Lecce and Swilliam. They were the ones who were able to kind of find those mats and just completely wall out that bottom floor. So brilliant job by them, and really happy to see William getting a shot to compete in the FNCS finals here in Europe.
That's right, man. It's so double. We can't forget a duel coming in from Session 3 today, specifically Nate and Snazy. They're just rolling around, man, making it into that top 5, being able to go shot for shot. It was absolutely clinical what they're doing. And look at this from the very beginning, earlier on in this game, right? Starting in 11. And now at this performance 11, they're looking at that top 6 saying, wait, we can do this. If we just keep the consistency up, if we just put our foot on the gas, we can hang and we can secure one of those spots.
Yeah, look, it was always going to be a possibility, right? When you look at the caliber of players that you expect them to be, you can see Snazy was really getting to work. And this is why I said at the start of the show, I still think Snazy is in top form. It was whether Nate would be up to his pace as well. And it seems like he was, but look at this. Snazy was really going in there with the damage, with that SMG. You know he was feeling it. But look, Nate as well with a bunch of eliminations. I think the big thing with them is that the ending didn't quite go in their favor, right? You know, like someone said, if it had gone a bit differently, if the person, the solo, had actually been able to, you know, go out there and do some damage to the high ground team, they very much could have been the winners and they could be the ones in the finals. But regardless, this is a really nice game for them in the standings context, right? Because they get a bunch of eliminations, second place, what? That's like a 49, 50-point game-ish. Huge game for these guys.
Yeah, and the Vitality duo, they're going to be very happy with that, pushing through here and having the opportunity. They're going to be up on that leaderboard, but we're going to have to take a look at where the teams are contesting, because Zeke, we're halfway through the competition right now.
I know, man, and we still have plenty of time. All right, so what I want to do is not only, here we go, graphic, boom, Swilliam, Lecce, congratulations. All right, production, hit them with the standings. I'm not going to say anything. Levin and Sundown, they have insights. They've been in the back, like, want to talk about a bunch of stuff. So I'm just going to toss it your way, Levin. Hit us, let's go.
Well, I think the very interesting thing, of course, right away, you see Ziandi's duo sitting in first place and quite comfortably. They've got themselves a solid lead. I believe, if I remember correctly, Sundown, was this enough to qualify down, right, yesterday?
So it was yesterday, but you have to end up adding in the extra game we're playing today. So just kind of keeping a look at that 6th place line. We're just a little bit under the average of the 25 points per game so far coming through, but that always ends up squeezing up there. One thing to note, our only day 3 team who's currently in the top 6 is Snazy and Nate, the veterans coming through. And then we have one of our day 2 teams, the Loot Boy duo of Huddy and Swifty, who have also managed to push into the top 6. But keeping an eye on that line, there's only 2 points separating 6th and 7th right now, and still everyone else in the top 10 is well within touching distance of those qualifying spots. And only really Siege God and Ziandi has been able to separate themselves from the pack.
Yeah, and even if you're looking down, right, towards 7th, 8th, right, Floki coming, they had one of their worst games, right, in terms of they went down relatively early. I believe they went down in around 35th. So even with them, they're still sort of in that battle. They're still in that race. They're still on the right pace to be able to get in. And so this is going to be, you know, that game, you had an off game, cool, done, but now you got to start getting back involved in those end game battles, because really and truly, right, we're seeing you know, the duos who are able to stay a cohesive unit throughout these end games, even through all the shambles, all the madness, are the ones who are being able to get those victory royales. And even if you aren't getting a victory royale, in terms of your points, it is just so beneficial.
Right, man, and this is it. We're halfway through the competition. That last opportunity to try and secure one of the last 6 spots on the bus. It's all about cementing yourselves, right? Saying, okay, whatever happened is what has happened before. We just need to go all in right here, right now. We either need to start playing for just placement. If we're far down, we got to play for the victory royales. But I'm telling you, high ground is unlocking the victory royales for a lot of these duos. So we'll see if it continues to be a point of contention. But that's enough from us for now. We're going back with our casters. Reese, Shy Wager, back over to you.
Thank you very much, Zeke and the boys. Those first 3 games have been, let's say, intense. We keep talking about high ground switching over, but again, we're going to notice there's another drop spot opening up here down in Chonkers. It's been a point of contention throughout the entire FNCS so far, and I'm thinking, are you thinking it's going to be a little bit different this game? See what's going to happen?
It might possibly. We'll see, you know, exactly who gets to fight there, but I want to take a second real quick. Enjoy life. Because Nate's back, baby. You see that last game, Reese? I know they came second overall, but this man was hitting his shots. Is what we asked for, and if that's the case, these next 3 games are going to be insane.
Again, they're high on the leaderboard. You got to remember, right now, the top of the leaderboard's looking awfully close. It's kind of top-heavy at the same time, but with the consistency factor of 3 more games going down, one bad game could throw you real far down that leaderboard.
No, absolutely. And we saw a few people still in the lead. You have to also remember, yeah, you know, we're looking at 120 points, 11, and Sundown especially mentioned it on the desk. There's that extra game overall. Teams might be looking at, you know, 140, 150 points. Zandy at 120, Reese. Can they even fall that far? They look so consistent today. I feel like they're basically qualified.
I think so. And hey, we're about to find out because game number 4 is just ready to start.
Game number 4. With this one ending, we'll be having 2 more after as well, but this game will also send 1 more duo straight to the finals. It was just Letshi and Swilliam. Now it'll be someone just following right in their coattails. The question is, where does that zone go? Who gets blessed? Who gets cursed off of spawn as well with that contestation? That's the real question. HALBFINALE and Nova have been trying to break that cursed game after game, but once again, it looks like there might be people beside them. No, there might be a late arrival here. Is this a switch up completely? Because usually I see them in trouble, but they look good right now.
You can hear the Butter Barn theme in the background banging right now. That song slaps.
Oh, it really does.
Back over to the Nate and Snazy, your boys that you're happy you're back. See,
yeah, I mean,
it's gonna happen.
Hopefully, like, Cavern, though, is looking kind of crazy right now. I think we were counting, what, 2 teams maybe that are contesting and 3 running around. I see like 4, almost 5 here. Right? I mean, I understand, you know, people are getting desperate. They want to go for a win, free pads and whatnot, but this is kind of insane.
You know, it's funny because, like, previously we've seen craziness in this drop spot, but in this drop spot. Not around this drop spot. You know, we're watching Nate and Snazy against Slove and SLQ. You can see the map at the bottom right that Slove's team has managed to get the lamb off spawn, forcing Nate and Snazy here to actually start to push in on that north side, get whatever loot they can. There's so much in Covert Canyon that you can work with. And if you can try to grab this north side, I think they'll have enough to get out of here. But I'm wondering, are they going to start getting to engagement? These guys are high on the leaderboards. If they go down right now, currently in 3rd place, it could be absolutely detrimental in a massive way to their qualification.
The momentum, especially. Ouch! Ow! My head hurts. That was too much, man. Sometimes these guys gotta relax. Flodax taking out a little bit of the anger for 2 days of fighting over at the Bugle. Yeah, Aqua might not be here. Still has a lot to go through. Those are some tough shots.
Rough indeed for Flodax and Amplify. Again, they have been here all weekend, and you know, like, I think they're just benefiting at this point from being almost kind of stubborn, where teams are just qualifying that are landing here already, or they're just leaving eventually because it's not working. And now there's like 2 or 3 teams left. You know, the Aqua and the Noah Rayleigh isn't here anymore. They've kind of got some space to work with. They're still having to unfortunately fight off the other teams that are contesting them, but they have seen a little bit more, shall I say, leaderboard positive games today than they have the other 2.
Yeah, they've definitely had a chance to play Fortnite, so to speak, right? Like,
an increased volume to other days. Oh, they switched up the drop spot actually this time, back to the At least they had a bit of a mess at yesterday. Clearly, Sanctuary wasn't working out. The 7 points so far, midway through the tournament. They seem to be contesting big ol' Liam down here.
Yeah, I mean, there's another Reese right there, my friend. You're playing and casting? That's kind of crazy.
You know, if I'm at the top of the leaderboards, I'll claim that as I'm playing.
Respectfully,
I don't think I am right now, 25th. I am not playing, I'm just casting.
Might be coming there. Oh, is that allowed? Is that okay? Frey, 20 HP, doing this and still landing a little bit of damage. Kidwell has to catch up here with the action too. Frey going down that siphon will give Liam a little bit of shield to work with. He'll let Kidwell take the 55? I guess not. Very good denial there.
Oh,
and it's coming in, and he's going to cost a lot of HP. Kidwell! What?
Liam, my boy, Resank, definitely not me. Sorry, I was getting a little bit distracted there and had to stop playing for a little second. That is unfortunate. Seemed like either the mouse disconnected.
I mean, that's an option, man. I think he just got him so confident and just went for the beam. I mean, kind of a psychopathic play because you're low on, you know, shields completely. And the heal bait rarely works that swiftly where it looks that good, but that's exactly what we just watched. Now, right now, Fast Rookie Kylie there in a little bit of trouble as well. Explosions down below that Kylie will have to deal with. Meanwhile, Fast Rookie up top is taking a little bit of damage from the opponents he's fighting. Med miss and a little bit of repositioning vertically will get him out of the way, but it's costed a lot, and he's been found that Pepper will make him a little bit faster to be able to run around, and this is still looking a little bit unfortunate. No mats still left, 2 walls, now 1. You say if you have one, just put it down, Reese. It will be the difference maker in this fight.
Seen a lot of difficulty here. This team's been uncontested off spawn for the majority of it so far. And not managing to capitalize on that. The Kong switching up the drop spot to get involved with a strokey fight. Maybe they're feeling confident here, but both teams with basically 0 materials, not to work through, no idea where the opponents are either, just taking the shots into the bush, just hoping for the best. This is just a situation of who's just going to hit the shots. The 50-50 comes out, and it's not symmetry, unfortunately. Kong comes through, hits 1, hits 2, that's the knock. He's ready to go for the 3rd. The finish comes through as well. He's 200 HP. Siphon materials come through. This has to be a max damage from Kylie. He's running. The shot's missing again with the heavy. I have to go with the chase, and I think this fight's just going to get more drawn out at this point.
This fight brought to you by Tilted Town, where we don't like to build and just shoot over and over again. Now the builds are finally coming in. These guys realize why Fortnite's so much fun to play, and Kylie is using this bush in just an expert fashion to be able to, you know, deny the. It's okay, meltdown. So they actually did commit to the cavern. They have the pads as well.
Oh, wow.
Definitely seems like it's a completely different game. They were down so bad. What did Fast Rookie Kylie do to us, man?
Aged us. We've grown up since this game started.
Had kids, graduated, eliminated, rezzed.
That's how long that fight went on for.
Yeah. Crazy.
Easy managed to capitalize on that. Like we said, we just saw the replay there of the single elimination, managed to get themselves the vault loot as well, which is, as we mentioned, gained the double pads. PR now. I'm wondering, I've seen a lot of teams so far not use a single shotgun in their inventory. I'm not sure if Snazy has one on himself or not, but Nate obviously opting not to use one in this particular situation. And there's been so many situations in the end game where having one player with a pump, with a striker pump, definitely helps you out. Again, going over to Flois and Andrea, single SMG. That's the usual strategy set up with a single player, using one striker shotgun, maybe even the heavy shotgun as well. And I feel like there's been a lot of teams who have benefited from that when they're at that mid-range with the double spray potential. But as soon as you're getting them fighting in that one tile distance, they lack that firepower a little bit.
I feel like you have a lot of opportunities to go buy builds and, you know, change your loadout for towards the end of the game when those shotguns do come into play. And a lot of the teams that are carrying this double spray, it's very cool you pointed it out. I also see have harpoons to be able to get into any of that loot to get the shotguns. Because one big thing, chug splashes, big shields, minis, med kits, they're always getting grabbed. Shotguns will stay there majority of the time. No one wants to swap out there, right? So the option's always open.
Bro, here's a look at the map. Relatively centered zone. Ref's Garden Scram crying right now. I take it back. It goes south. No surprise.
Reese, did you forget? The players love sand.
I know. Every game we're seeing potentially a bit of a south zone here. We also saw basically no one was in that south half of that next zone already. So we'll see. We've seen a bunch of the fights already going down. We saw the very, very long drawn out. You've got to expect that they've got their Storm Surge damage already. The teams down in Condo. Would expect that some of the teams on that south side can now play the dead side of the zone, since they don't have to worry about trying to set up and hold players on rotation.
That would be the case for teams playing a normal game, but right now, Casper Vortexia, I'm not sure what horror movie we tuned into. Zone nowhere near them, and they're bunkering down for something that I can't see coming just yet, but something.
You know what? You don't have to understand every play.
That's true. Sometimes let's just watch a creative build fight in the middle of the zone where a lot of people can start to third party you. You know, it just happens.
Well, this team is one of the tilted teams who has struggled with Surge every single game so far. They're the teams who's not taken a fight inside a tilt. This is the first time these guys are finally starting to take an engagement at this point of the zone. They have rotated a little bit to it. They have plenty of materials, and they picked up an elimination. We saw Mixon do that earlier in the feed. And I think now they're just trying to get the solo at this point.
Exactly. They're just hunting down the solo, but this is one of the most inefficient hunts I've seen so far. And at the same time, the solo is really making them use double the mats to find them. Low HP overall. All they have to do is just not take too much damage. Raxish having a little bit of trouble getting there. Also one of the teams that is just rolling in on the third day. So we're talking about inexperience. They might not have that much experience at this point of the competition. They're still getting rattled down. And somehow, this man is upkeeping exactly where he is. We were asking what are Casper and Vortex getting ready for. Free elims and loot, it looks like. Nice upgrade everywhere. And they have the script. I don't, in terms of how to set up a game plan.
At this point, well, they did. They did maybe this game. The first three, not necessarily so much. Unless that script is maybe needed translation.
Yeah.
But now, you're right. This is them set up. These guys need a win. They have the launch pad. They have great loot. They even have the Spider-Man's web shooters if they choose to do so. But again, the rotations are rough. This is a team who's early and mid-game, not that great. We've seen throughout the days similar stories going on. If they're fighting, it's long, it's clunky. They often have to rely on just jumping straight into the box, kind of similar to what you saw. But if you get them in an end-game position, they have the aim, they have the firepower to be able to pick up refreshes and maybe even pick up that victory. They're confident enough to go for height, absolutely.
I don't know, man, because, yeah, they have all that confidence. They also have edited builds. They also have bodies that somehow attract SMGs into their boxes in the worst times. I feel like endgame, although it's so good for them, you're right, potentially, right? Especially with the way we're watching them play. It's the spot they're actually messing up in a lot. They, for some reason, they are the target of every single aggressive team's push.
Across the weekend? Yes. Today?
Yeah.
We haven't seen yet because they haven't managed to make it to that endgame. You know, overnight, magic can happen.
Rabbit magic or like still card tricks, cup and ball?
I think we're still cup and ball at this point.
Cup and ball, unfortunate.
By game 6, though, maybe rabbit in the hat magic.
It's crazy, man. A whole animal in a hat that the guy was wearing the whole time. Magical. Magical.
Must be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Similar to this situation with Surge for all the players.
What's going on with Kane and Cruel, man? This is tough. They're looking so good. The cost of taking so many fights. I'm not sure where they moved out to because this does not seem like they were at Covert Cavern. No, they were around it actually when we first tuned in, but I forgot we have aged 15 years since this game started into one fight. So my memory is leaving me in this old age.
Yeah, it'll get you. Don't worry, it gets worse.
Yeah,
believe me, I barely remember who you are at this point. But Melgard and Pickle, a team who we saw go down early on. Actually, that was the Snazy and Nate in one of the replays. Now managed to get the reboot off, be still super deep into zone yet again. And on our right side of the screen, Q-Roll and Rotary down in zone. Being tagged by Storm Surge, just let him go down, my friend. Just, I'm sorry. Don't heal him, thank you. If you're in this situation, when your teammate is knocked, Surge is down, if you try to res them up, you've got to understand that that's going to be another player that stays in the game for Surge. If you just let them go down and potentially reboot them later, then that is going to knock one more player count off, and the Storm Surge will actually end earlier, giving you a larger chance to survive through the remainder of the game. I think Q-Roll noticed that about halfway through reviving, but there's still 2 more players to go down. So at the end of the day, sometimes it's just not enough.
I'm liking this new Cray strat, basically, from Q-Roll.
Cray.
It's crazy to me because I'm not sure how he's going to come back from this one. I'm impressed, Reese, if he gets, like, what, 20 points by the end of this game. That would actually be really cool. From this spot?
I was going to say 10.
Oh, no.
That's +1 from this perspective. You know? Trying to make it to the next threshold?
It kind of shows the pressure that a lot of those teams are under as well. If you take a look at Rotary and Q-Roll, they're coming in fresh today. These are just 3 games that they've played before. Now they're 4th rolling in, right? For a lot of these teams, this is what, if you do the mathematics, 14th game that they're playing. For some of them, this is like the 7th, 8th they're rocking in with. So that's kind of nuts. Clement and Floki have had the luxury of being one of the teams that have had a little bit more in terms of, you know, just being there since day 1, I believe, overall. Looking at Q-Roll now.
Yeah, we looked at that. I mean, you said 20 points. I said 10.
It be like that sometimes.
It do be like that sometimes. You know, they're going with the strategy of landing off the boat off the side of the map, the 50-50 boat.
Yeah.
And there's just firstly not enough there for a duo, but you're also seeing that teams are third partying them off spawn repeatedly because they're just landing near known splits. This is not a drop spot that I don't want to say doesn't work in duos, but I'm just going to say it doesn't work in duos.
We have made claims, based claims.
Based claims.
Yeah, yeah. We had a lot of those yesterday.
There was a lot of those yesterday.
Yeah.
By specific teams.
Now we are chilling. Rocky Reels, always in the business. I feel like I'm watching the same endgame over and over, but the players are changing, getting better. Snazy Nate, box to box, dealing the damage, making this team just look absolutely so scared. And yeah, I think.
With a pre-edit?
Look at that, Sire. Look at that quick pre-edit. They know exactly what's going down. It's just huge. Having to re-edit, though, that's the tough part.
That's why I don't ever do it myself. I am horribly useless, but players like Snazy and Nate are absolutely infinitely better than me. This is now a 2v1 situation. The second place team got up against Keyrox right now, but he's putting up a great fight, but no, the headshots start to come through. And the loot just completely yoinked all of that useful loot, basically all of the materials, all of the heals that were sitting down there, just taken away from Snazy and Nate by a single harpoon shot. The exact thing you mentioned earlier.
Might be like a pre-fire on that harpoon too, because the loot is only that together right when the person gets eliminated. It spreads apart really fast, so I'm not sure what that team was thinking, trying to grab the player, steal the Elim completely too, and
it's the only reason.
Yeah, but that actually just might be huge for Snazy and Nate. They needed some of those mats back. You look at the hard mat situation right now, barely any metal, any brick from Snazy in his inventory, and by this point you would assume that both duos, both teammates here, would have split their loot overall, right?
Yeah, and you're going to have to think at this moment as well, they're probably going to have to launch pad. Look at the distance they rotate to 4th. Some players will just have to use it this early. And if I'm them, I'm thinking maybe even tank a little bit of zone so that players like Till and Julian that we're seeing right now start their rotate so they don't hold them out the sky.
Yeah, you talk about the sky rotates and pads. This position that I've seen that Till and Julian are in is the same that we saw LETZTES and Swollium. It's the same that we saw a bunch of teams in the 4th zone that have won the game today. And they did use that proficient padding to get to a spot to then build up again. I feel like I'm seeing some strength out of Till and Julian. Also one of the first times where they rotate and neither player takes any damage on that rotation in. Very clean builds too. I would prefer maybe a little bit of brick built up, but it's smart to go for metal if you're landing between so many teams. Armored Wall here too. They are not joking around. They're at a central position. It's looking really good for them. Absolutely great.
Exactly what I called off of this pad. Not waiting that time. The players beamed him out. Now the heals are going to have to be wasted. At least Nate has managed to keep up with some good HP. Managed to get Snazy straight back up into this as well. But the rotate has to be made. Notice the layering. Really nice. Having to elevate on these quite frankly, awful fourth zones. But ooh, yet again, the spray starts coming up from Skyzoo. But no, Nate is going to go down way too early. The armored walls were in the inventory, but just not used early enough. That's the finish. And Snazy is luckily going to be able to grab whatever remnants he can of that. The Chug Splash is left alone, but only 23 builds still left to his name. He's still going to have to go for a layer change. Now only left down to wood. This is a signal to the remainder of the lobby that he has nothing to work with, but he's trapped himself inside a corner. A corner of pain, I must add.
I'm wondering what the decision is to even make this elevation change. Look at the zone. There is a possibility of them tanking just a little bit, going around and staying on the ground. It was definitely there. I'm wondering why they wanted to go up high so fast. It's going to have such a huge cost. Meanwhile, Booping and Bevies, this is where a lot of the teams that are desperate on Surge will also start to dive in. It's not just position you're looking for, it's that damage. And over and over again, we see Boopy and Bevies over just their heads, it feels like, in position. They just get beamed from all sides. They never get to play their game properly. And once again, it's not lightning that's striking on them, it's bullets from every single angle.
And for the 10th place team, this could be absolutely horrible for the leaderboard placement right now. They're 100% possible of getting up into the top 6 into the qualification range. But if they go down here, this could drop them down to the 15th or something. And now the zone is starting to pull. They have no rotation to the far left. Jeff goes down on the right as well.
You guys are used to watching Stark season way back in the day. This zone has a little bit of that type of style going on. One very big cliff and hill where you see an entire Fortnite game going on. Very strategic, you know, people in suits looking at each other. What is your position? Sir, do you have a pad? You know, very eloquent high table stuff. Down below, it's just carnage. People box fighting. It's isolated. You can see it on the left side of the screen. Bevy's just got out of one. He's looking for another. Keandro, so many people above him. He's also in these underground city streets looking for a little bit of action, some damage, some chance to just come back into the game, but he's bullied down too. Bevy's finds eliminations. He's chilling. 2 different worlds of Fortnite active right now.
7 mats. Definitely not my definition of chilling, but everything else, 100%. The loot looking fantastic. The rotations pulled back in their favor, so they may have some old builds, small amount. They're thinking about it. They're thinking about this car.
The issue is it's pulling back, I think, up a mountain, so I'm not sure exactly if they're gonna have room to get up. Yes, the zone says it's going that way, but Reese, you never know how the zone likes to go in the position that it's going towards, right? It could just pull up and then turn right a little bit. It could go in very different ways, and with 7 mats, I don't think there's a chance these guys can elevate themselves up. Not even, maybe they change something with the chonkers and they have spikes on them now. They can take the car up the cliff. Do they have the room to move?
I think they can go down that route. We also saw Ziandi, our first place, with Alex caught on the full dead side of the zone, managed to, I think, use that launch pad to keep themselves, so they're going to be in this game. Snazy still left in this as a solo as the zone starts to go. He's got a single launch pad high up into the sky right now. We see Nyazin still in this too.
Snazy's qualification is kind of on the line here, I feel like, in this game. Yes, it's only game 4, but him going down here ruins the pace entirely of the whole tournament for him and Nate. He has no materials. Triple digits at least is what I'm looking for. Maybe 110, 120 after game number 4. He will all in with the whips, the swings. Those web shooters active, and he's going right inside of a box of a duo, trying to look for a little bit of a beam. Now all the way down to low ground. He's looking for anything. Snazy cannot find it. There is no map. There is no treasure on this side of the zone for him. He has to make it himself, but there's nothing, no shovel for him to dig through the dirt that he's trapped on.
Most of these players in this situation are trying to hide behind a corner, take some shots, peek up. Snazy does not care. He's swinging, he's angling, he's running, he's on his feet right now, moving and shaking every single direction that he can, and he's finally found that cubby hole to sit in, waiting for a player to come past. He can get any placement possible right now. This will be huge.
This is just an absolute paradox. Yes, he gets to survive the entire time, but he needs to find a player as well. He needs to be able to do both sides of this equation at the same time to find a solution, and it's not going to be able to happen. It seems almost impossible for him, but while he survives, we see Vortexia and Casper thrive on the high ground, Mixon right below him with Raxus, 2 teams that have been so struggling to find identity inside this endgame, find identity inside the semifinals. Are they on height, looking to control the rest of the lobby? It'll be a big task. Snazy finds a beam, but 20 damage, 2 less. Unfortunate for him, he goes down.
Great job by a solo, keeping himself up in the game as long as possible. Yet another solo to the name, Volko alongside Pena, 2 of the most aggressive players we have seen throughout the qualification system. Not managed to make it that deep into the majority of endgames, but we know these guys can hit shots. We know that these guys can do well, but Volko left as a solo. Oh no, he goes down.
The zone becomes a labyrinth, a maze that's unsolvable when it bounces back, and it's going to be a maze with hard mats left and right, brick and metal. You have to break through that you can't see through. You're not only blind, you have no information as to what's going on around you. Indreda in a very similar spot. He has nothing, no info on what's going down above and below. Nova with a big swing to get in the front side of the zone, and he has HALBFINALE next to him. That was so clean from them. Vortexia and Castery. Once again, the fourth game, we see HEUTE undisturbed. They might just have a free ticket to the finals right here.
They're going to have to get the refresh somewhere if they need to. They're going to have to drop down, pick it up at some point, and if while they do that, Vortexia with no match stays up on high ground, that's an easy retake from there on out.
On low ground, the ground absolutely disappears and falls. We're going past the cliff, and Floki and Clement, we're looking so good for the moment. More players will start to drop. It's a clash in the storm, and they're the ones to come out reigning supreme. Floki and Clement with a huge siphon, and they control the underground.
3 teams left, remaining now down to 5 at this moment. Till still popping up in the feed. It's Jox who's picked up here the materials. Now refreshed mildly for Castery and Vortexia. They have 5 eliminations. Those mid-game engagements that they were getting into have clearly figured things out. It's a 2v2v2.
3 different rounds, but now worlds will start to clash as everyone gets closer inside this 9th zone. 2 minutes in this arena, in the middle of the desert. And who will be free? Julian starts to move inside the zone using the med miss. Castery and Vortexia have found a few mats and are still staying all the way up. It's a clash down below. Till is down. Floki and Clement side by side, shoulder to shoulder. Strong as a boulder. It's getting crazy, but Vortexia and Castery, they drop on the house. The roof is on fire with shots. They find a little bit of a pick. Floki is down. Castery's done enough. And it looks like the 40-point Legends will have free HEUTE and look for the win. Just one more person to go. It's a pump on the Clement. Yes, there it is. Actually, a 1v1 situation for Castery. And he gets Julian. It was a 3-way 1v1, and he plays it in an expert fashion and takes the win.
It looked like for a second, a millisecond there, that Julian Colm was going to clutch that one up. I saw him pick up the elimination of the Vortexia in the feed at the same time, but no, Castery's on the high ground. He's got the crosshair placement of a demon, and he hits every single shot he needs to pump their way straight through to the finals.
I didn't even see Vortexia go down. That's how fast Julian did it up top in the box. Castery, though, was micromanaging this absolutely perfectly. He knew exactly when to take each shot. That final one being a right-hand peek as well. That was great, especially reached from a team that was so low on the boards.
I think they had 6 points before this match. So they were basically at the bottom at that particular moment. We saw them taking those mid-game engagements. We even asked ourselves, what are they doing right now? Hiding around corners in the 7 outposts, sneaking around a little bit. The refreshes paid off, kept them running, and took them up to high ground.
Absolutely. That's another day 1 team rolling in and now rolling out straight to the finals. Zeke, what do we think about that one? What else is left for us here on the final day of semis?
Man, I mean, there's still some teams that I want to see win, right? Floki, Clement, once again, another team, and my prediction, and Recent Lemon's prediction that we could want to see win. But, I mean, look, it's a big win for Castery and Vortexia specifically, right? They do come out on top. But again, 11, they just keep getting so close, right? 2nd place last game, a 3rd place this game. At least they're doing well in terms of leaderboard points, right? So at the end of the day, after the next few games, even if they don't find a Victory Royale, they're still making it through on consistency.
I felt really good when I saw them in this game, just because, right, even if you look back to the trio days, right, when they were playing with the LETZTES, they were always a team that was really good at being able to control in zones where the elevation was incredibly drastic, like this one, right? When you have those drastic changes. And it's a shame because I really did have hope for them, and it all just sort of fell apart towards the end there. But I'm staying confident, right? You know, they had their game off last game, but you know, in this one they come back out much stronger. And I think eventually, at some point, right, they're going to be okay to go for a win. But if not, right, they're going to be looking really good in terms of the consistency points as well.
Yeah, and I mean, now hitting into triple digits and well into triple digits with that high placement, they're picking up a number of eliminations to go with it. With only 2 matches left, they're starting to look pretty comfortable in there. So honestly, the rest of the lobby probably wants them to win a match so they can pull some of those points out there and maybe open up a space in that top 6 because they've looked pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, things could still go awry. Let's hope that doesn't happen right there. They've shown us that they have control over these matches. They have control over their destiny right now. So with 2 games left, they just got to close it out. Let's just land the plane. We're good to go. We have to talk about Vortexia, though, and Castery finding themselves in Victory Royale. Once again, you know, Levin, high ground is just closing out these games. It's interesting that we're allowed to kind of go this far. Yesterday in NA East, we saw different kinds of wins come out. A few low ground, and then even we've seen from NA East and West, heal-offs happen. But here in EU, everyone's just
shot in what was a 2v2v2 all down into a 1v1v1 where he picks up the last 2 elims. It was sick.
Absolutely sick, man. Massive props to these two. They're going to finals. We'll see them, but this is also like a double-edged sword in a lot of ways, Levin and Sundown, because this means that a team that wasn't in the top 6 was not pulled out, right? So this means the top 6 is still pretty tight. Let's take a look at our standings. Let's see how things are shaking out. Remember, we'll take a deep breath. Still have 2 games to go. Everything is still okay, at least for this moment in time. But look at this, 105, 104, 103. It's a little tight, Levin.
No, things are really shaking up here, right? You know, Sundown started to mention it. The likes of Snazy and Nate, of course. Snazy tried to do the little clutcherino, just didn't quite come off, right? But hopefully this time they can stay as a unit going into the next game. Julian, Commentil as well, a team that will feel like they deserve to be in it. All these teams in the top 10, Sundown, realistically, they're going to be feeling like, hey, we've done just enough, right? Like, we deserve a place in the finals. So these last couple games are going to get real intense.
Yeah, and reminding the viewers, what matters on this leaderboard is the top 6. The prize for 1st through 6, all the same. It's a trip to the finals. And today, if you find yourself outside of this top 6 and not winning a match, you don't go. And I mean, basically everyone in between 3rd and 7th are right on top of each other. And even flipping over the next page with 2 matches left to go, if you're inside of that top 15, we can even stretch it to top 16, say top 17, because then after that, there's a pretty significant 8-point drop-off. If you can put in a good game in this game number 5, you can still play for consistency in that game number 6. You can give yourself an additional option, another way to make it through the finals. And as you're going through your preparation checklist, that's all that should matter, is looking at the end goal of making it to the finals and how do you get there and figuring out what your duo has to do.
I love it, son. I mean, being able to identify this as a duo and take that even into finals, right, where it's just going to be that much more difficult, and you just have to set your eyes on a goal and just say, look, we just have to accomplish this. These are the steps we need to take. We just need to follow through. 2 games left to go, everybody. We're prepping for game number 5, so let's kick it back on over the casters. Take us in.
Thank you so much, guys. And yeah, 2 more games. I'm wishing we could add 3 or 5 more another day, Reese. I'm having too much fun with this one.
I mean, at the same time, you got to think that would relieve some of the stress of today. We got 2 games left. Top 6 will qualify. There's 2 more victory royales that are left. So, you know, there's some of these teams that are down there on the bottom of the leaderboards. Even the guys who are on that bubble are going to need to start catching up, doing something big in these next 2.
Absolutely, and Zeke actually put a very good point up when that entire, breakdown started with these guys. A team that wasn't in the top 6 got to win. A team that was very low, so those standings now are super close. We're used to seeing that effect kind of happen, but now, Reese, it seems like that waterfall effect that you were describing on Friday, every single player, every team is like 1 point beside each other.
Yeah, it's so close up there, which is great. So what we got to watch out for is those top teams. You can see their placement in the bottom left now. Thank you. That's so good. We can see where they're at. If a single one of those outside of that or inside of that top 10 drops out, this could be devastating for their run, and they might need that big victory royale in the final game.
Yeah, and what this also is from that game number 4, inspiration, a light in the sky. Anyone can still win and get to the finals. 2 more games. Here's game number 5.
Inspiration is what some of these teams will need. Perspiration is what I may need, because this is getting sweaty. 2 more games remaining. 2 more opportunities for teams to get the victory royale. And a top 6 will qualify through.
Lots of landings that we're not going to be watching. I understand why things feel different. LETZTES, William, Floki, Clement. I have a system right now, Reese, with the semifinals. I need to see them shoot each other every game earlier on. We are getting the Snazy show. Okay. A drop in 2 shots with the 180. This man is a ballerina.
We've seen. Me and actually Sundown had this discussion yesterday. The hip fire potential of the heavy shotgun is so good, and it's so much better than a lot of people think. It does nowhere near as much bloom as people actually suspect. As long as you point the crosshair at their heads, it will hit.
It's Nate right now is just tagging along for the ride. He's like, here's some shields, big up, we got to get going. Like, I'm online right now, I'm in the zone hitting these shots. And you're right, heavy shotgun or just any shotgun, when you're rolling in with it, you want to make sure you're just on target. It doesn't really matter what the difference is.
Yeah, you got to think that's an extra 6 points instantly off spawn. These 2 teams are going back to forward, back and forward. Are we landed on each other? Are we not? Maybe change it up, surprise each other, probably based on wherever your drop's landing at this point. But basically, regardless of what it is, Snazy and Nate have been winning.
Yeah, let's talk about that 6-point little boost they got there. There's an island effect, and I'm not talking about the zone that all these players, in quotations, love, right? The island effect is kind of on this leaderboard. As soon as you get towards the top 6 or who can qual, there are islands of points that people start to operate off on, right? So right now we have that higher edge of the 3 digits, the 130s, the 120s. That's Skyzoo, that's the Andy. They're all the way up there on their own island. But then we get those islands getting a little bit more, bigger. The 100-point threshold. That's where we just saw Snazy and Nate at. That's where we see Huddy and Swifty. Kane and Cruel are operating near there too. That little boost puts them on that higher island. You want to be up there only fighting maybe 2 or 3 teams in stakes overall. You want to have that comfortable position, right? As soon as you get to some of these more populated islands worth of points, that's where it's not more so a vacation. It's too overcrowded. It's stressful. One little mistake, 1 point not got. That's 2 placements down.
Seems like Fire Hunter and Stepter now move back to Tilted, right? We obviously saw a little bit of difficulty of them moving to Coney Crossroads at one point. Now rocking all back. It seems to be working out a lot better since they're getting into some of these engagements, picking up Sanji, who's not had a great day or a couple days landing in Tilted. We saw them with Kinston Siptos across in day number 1. Not really had any of the limelight yet across the entire weekend.
I like Fire Hunter also chasing like a ghost or a shadow in another box in front of Sanji's teammate right there. This man is on piece control duty.
Back over now to the power towers. We've seen engagement after engagement here. Rotary and Q-Roll. A new team to this, and they were landed on the 50-50 boat, but Resac Liam, a team who's been landing here for the majority of it. We saw Frey in the mix here at some point too. He's potentially gone already back to the Sanctuary where he originally started at. This seems to be going on the way of Liam's team, being up on the high ground. But oh, the big beams exchanged. Again, no one here is really winning in this match, it would seem so far, though.
I feel the advantage in these types of earlier fights goes to the team that's actually on low ground. You have to use a little bit less builds overall in terms of upkeeping where you are. You can also just use the enemy's builds on low ground. They're too far away to go for those edits. You end up having just a lot more efficiency in attrition.
What most people will usually end up doing, though, is having one pair up on high ground, then you get that other one swinging all the way around, getting that surprise shot, the pinch, almost exactly what we're seeing here through the window onto Q-Roll, getting big beam one time. The pinch is fully coming on out. Resac Liam now left as a solo, whereas Rotary and Q-Roll's a duo with almost no HP. The big shot comes through onto Liam, and he is going to be picked up at the exact same time. Rotary and Q-Roll finally going to get a little bit of a swing in momentum from this game, which we have not seen basically at all.
Q-Roll right there is definitely the gears, and then Rotary, the hands on the clock in terms of that play, really baiting everyone in by getting beam Q-Roll in that circumstance. The comms probably from the opposing team, he's one shot, push, push, push. Then you see Rotary just swinging around the watch face, going for all the shots, clasping almost looks like a disastrous situation.
Yeah, that's what I say when I take a ton of damage. Like you're just meant to. I'm baiting, obviously. You're meant to pick up the elimination.
I want to make him look good, man.
Sometimes it works out like that. Not always.
Sometimes. That was definitely just like, I would say slightly lucky, but I see the cerebral play if they want to claim that they made one. It's not covering all the bases.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm talking personally myself.
Oh, personally, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's like saying, I'm not a fan of this player, but I'm not a hater,
Yeah.
I personally would have done
wrong take. I take this not even possible.
Yeah. It's a paradoxical take even.
Yeah, walking is crazy.
Yeah, it's craziness. X-ray. The shield kick, I've seen a lot of uses out of it. It's very nice, but it's also, we talk about bait and switch. It seems like sometimes it does interrupt teams overall in terms of wanting to stay in the box they shouldn't be in, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the times you want to create a lot of space. You want to be not either directly with your teammates, shadowing them, fighting together, or in that split, intentional pitching, as we mentioned earlier. And sometimes the shield keg just completely throws that momentum and tells the opponents exactly where you are and exactly where they should shoot at, aim at, angle at, everything. It keeps you so locked into this one particular spot that you can't really do anything outside of that. But it gives you all that HP, gives other shields. So it's like this really interesting balance of, is it worth it, is it not?
Most definitely. That balance we've seen used properly throughout most of the qualifiers today. Sometimes it does trip up. Crazy and Rafa, I want to see them succeed. I've seen too many cool cam reactions from Crazy, and they've all been somewhat negative. I want to see it off of a VR straight to the finals. That would be nuts.
There was a positive one in one of the qualifiers. and it was awesome. I'm not gonna lie. I am rooting for these guys because, let's be real, they're using the cam function. And you've got to support that, let's be real.
Definitely do. I like this. A little bit of dynamics coming in. Is that both players hitting the truck off of a swing and then driving?
That was clean.
Okay.
That's a movie. That's a trailer clip right there.
Yeah, more trailer clips.
This one's not as slow as the last
these guys
one,
are getting DM'd. Guys, we're using your gameplay for a trailer. Please use cool items. Don't contest someone. Fastaroki, don't build in this next fight for 30 minutes and age your casters by 40 years.
Yeah, we retired after this week. There's the Malamo. Oh, there you go.
Oh no, I was about to say you're focused on that duo. What's happening to Hardfine and Nova? You look at these two names, you look at the drop they're at, and you know some of the big teams just siphoning out of it. How have they not found footing, especially in a format like this? Yo, you take height, you keep it, you win.
I think a lot of this
it's Hardfine. Like,
I think a lot of this, in all honesty, like I've mentioned multiple times, we know they have the brain, we know they've got the big coach Harry on them. They're also being gifted a ton of zones. Like every zone is south, it would seem like. Yet again, we're seeing another south zone pull up. I don't know if EU is just cursed with these kind of zones, but that will often lead you to struggle in a lot of that early and mid game because a lot of the teams will start rotating into these areas. We've seen so many times the Condo Canyon teams, the Chonker Speedway teams are all fighting in that kind of area, and you'd think that Hardfind and Nova could potentially use this and take advantage of this, but they're just getting into scrappy engagements too with guys like Malibu, who is the team from Chonker Speedway now, but they're not in that spot. They're all kind of spread out over the Oasis as we see right now, and it's just kind of messing up everyone.
definitely is. Went for that switch up, and now everyone's destinies kind of change. Big thing too is that, you know, once again, I don't think it's a curse on the sand. I'm just gonna mention it. The players asked for it.
They asked for it.
We literally, we gave them the option, and then, you know, I saw the interview. I went in the back end, typed up what the zone should be, and now we're here forever. 5 seconds. Where do you think this zone goes, Mr. Reese?
I mean, if I'm gonna just a wild guess, I would probably say south.
Possibly.
You never know. In the land of Fortnite, the zones don't always continue to pull that exact different way. As we see, Frey did move back to the Sanctuary here, now being picked up by Blasha and Combeck. No real good luck off spawn for them, or I shouldn't say luck, it's the execution of the off spawn for them, not really done excellently. Flawless and Andrea, another team who's, you know, honestly, surprising me still to this day. Like, this should be a team who is qualifying for finals. Flawless, such a hard worker. Andrea, one of the best tarpers in the game, but their mid and early game is just not able to put them in a good position. It's like, you know, if this team doesn't get to 5th zone with like cap materials, it doesn't seem like they're able to reflex up, catch up. If they're given the opportunity to be put in great positions, yeah, they're getting 2nd, 3rd, 4th. But right now, we're just not seeing that from the, I don't want to say sloppy early and mid games, but potentially inefficient.
It might be the fact of Andretta just being forced to be that supportive type of playstyle all throughout the trios year, right? Maybe that dynamic ask of, you know, okay, you're not going to just be tarping in this zone, you have to do a little bit more. Might be slightly overwhelming, at the same time too different inside a duos perspective, especially in this format.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in duos, in an endgame, like, there's no longer a tarper. There's a guy who predominantly will tarp, but he has to aim, he has to shoot. You know, in trios, you're not really as used to doing that. Your tarper, a good tarper, most of the time will not shoot. They will just tarp, put the team in good position, and trust the rest of the team.
Yeah, and the other thing is also, you know, you're just playing for consistency overall. I feel like there is a little bit of greed, a little bit of a shining light, like in a, you know, a mysterious suitcase you want to open up and really take a look at. The fact that you can just qual off the win, it might tempt these guys, that temptation to not stay on their game plan.
Yeah, sometimes you open the suitcase, it's money. Sometimes you open it and it's a big bag of coal. And sometimes if you're going up for high ground right now, in those earlier games, like we've seen already from Flores and Andrea, we've seen them go for a couple high ground retakes, fail miserably, unfortunately. And, you know, like I mentioned, this team is a low and mid ground team in the endgame. They play that classic playstyle for consistency over and over. And going for high ground does not suit their playstyle one bit. So every time I see them going up, I'm just like, stop it. Go down.
They're learning, though. They're learning. And today they kind of have to. Every team that has height just wins. And it's tough for these lower ground teams. And a note on that coal as well that you would get from the suitcase randomly, right? Not the worst gift ever. You could heat up your fireplace. You could sell the coal and have it worth more than the gold if you had, like, you know, a small amount of gold. But at the same time, if the price of coal isn't as high, then maybe it's bad to get coal. But it's all on the economic markets of coal, which I don't have an insight to. Maybe you do, but I'm just saying.
Right now, we're in a renewables market, and you know, that coal's not worth much.
True. Okay. Lessons from, is that high-level finance? I don't even know what subject we're at right now. I think I'm still affected by that
don't
fight
know if that's right.
from last
We're just,
game.
you know, we're just
Baseless
shooting
claims.
in the dark at this point.
That's what I like to see. Okay, I think the focus should definitely be on any type of Bifrost team rolling in. Leon is one of them. We have Hardfight and Nova rolling too as well. Firehunter looks like he has a little bit of pizzazz in this game. You know what I mean? Before, it's a very quiet individual rolling in POI to POI. Now, he's the one taking the first shot.
Well, he's back home. He's until it towers. Oh, no! Glenbury just goes in the box. The players camping at this moment, and Leon will also follow in and not be able to pick up the 1v2. The sneaky plays to sit, hold the edit open, hide, lure them in. You understand that the opponents are weak, need their surge. It's all over.
Yeah, at their house, their welcome mat just says, go away. Beware of shotgun.
Like, maybe not the second part. But the go
yeah,
away
I was about
part?
to say, man.
Perfect. Yeah. That's a classic, right? For this type of moment in the game where the Storm Surge is active, when you know players need to be aggressive, you can pinpoint those players who are below Surge. You can sit deep back into your boxes, keep those hard builds, and allow those teams to run in, make mistakes, and you can pick up easy eliminations, get easy refreshes from those weaker teams, similar to what Ziandi's done here right now. You see that other player go down to Surge, and they were trying to capitalize on the solo that was left in this. Even though they didn't get the eliminations from it, but they did get the single one, they managed to get tons of loot.
Okay, putting hats on top of Trexler, that's what I'm talking about, but I like the fact that Ziandi actually stays back and doesn't follow him one level up when Trexler did build up. That attracts a lot of third parties. Ziandi wants to keep this quiet. He's learning because I saw him do it on the first day, even the second day a little bit. Now he actually understands the cost of going for fights over and over again. It seems like this team in the lead, it just looks absolutely brand new on day number 3.
Yeah, Trexler is trying to get a little 1v2 action right now. I'm not really sure how that's going to play out for them, especially since the shield peg is popped. Ziandi's going to start running in on the right-hand side. We see Kane alongside Cruel getting really beamed up, chunked up on what will be a pure bad rotate for so many players who are stuck in tilted towers. This is obviously a southeast zone, and a lot of those are getting stuck in the congestion there of that main build. And for Kane and Cruel trying to rotate later on, that's going to be rough.
Definitely going to see that funnel effect coming in from everyone through Tilted, and you know everyone that is at Tilted is probably low on Surge. You were mentioning it at the very start of this stream, Reese, of the broadcast. Ooh. Okay, Ziandi, that's what I'm talking about. That's what started everything up. Yeah, X-ray being seen throughout the map and tracked. That's kind of poetic in terms of having an aim. And Cruel just go all in and press the jump button on the sedan. Interesting, and they're really zooming. We're talking about making a rotation from a tough spot. Wow. I'm not sure who taught Kane how to drive, but maybe I need some lessons. Beamed by every team, though, and an explosion that drops the shields. Kane gets to survive, lobby focus. They have to start to move and make more boxes. Nice, they make a 3x3, a 2x3 almost, and that should get things quiet for their layers.
That rotation is only going to take you so far. Remember, you could easily sideline when there wasn't that many teams around them and there was trees to cover their angles, but as soon as they got out into the open of the mid-map, it was over. The truck flying through a bunch of the builds. We've seen some wild things with cars today, and unfortunately it was Crazy, who we saw rotate with that in the early game, using the Spider-Mans to jump into it in that montage trailer-esque moment, has now just driven straight into the box and out of the game.
Oh man, so every team desperately trying to get in. Kane and Cruel, I mean, if you're going for this angle with a sniper rifle, what is really going on with your game? This just screams desperation. There's so many other teams you can be focusing on if you just get up and look, and that's exactly what Cruel starts to do. You have to understand, I know why Kane's going for it. Really? There are not that many options race in their inventory. Just one SMG on one side. I don't think that Cruel has that much on the other either. Skyzoo also in kind of a little bit of trouble. Backed up by the zone. Big shot, but he's going to go down no matter even if he got that knock because he was just taking that 2 damage tick over and over again.
That's our second place team now currently out of the running, which is going to open up a lot of this for guys like Kane and Cruel. They can capitalize and start moving up those leaderboard positions. They're definitely going to secure things a lot more going into the final match that we're about to see. But like you mentioned, this inventory, this is not great.
Have the Memphis is looking better. What do Kane and Cruel need to do now, though? is the thing I wanted to mention. I would say 130, 140 points by the end of this game. That should be the comfort mark if they're not looking to win.
I think that's about it. Yeah, you know, and potentially up to the 150s. We'll exactly see what it's like once this game's over, because they're still on the bubble with the end game going. After this game, yeah, 130, 140, absolutely. But that's not going to secure it, I don't think, yet. We'll see after that final game. In terms of them, how did they get to there? They firstly have to get that refresh, probably at the 5th zone, because they have barely any materials to work. I think it was like 50 builds each. We saw obviously the, quite frankly, horrible inventory in terms of weapon loadout. No shotgun, no AR, no chances of doing big damage there. And they were close to that next rotate as well.
Talking about refresh, you're talking about being in positions to rotate. You can apply all of that as well on the Floki, because 118 points overall. They're in a very similar boat to Kane and Cruel. What they want out of this game, if they want to just keep on record, on track, is to get to that 130 mark. Put themselves in a position for game 6 to qualify. For Julian, it looks like now he needs to do the impossible. Already 10 points behind where the upper echelon in the top 6 already is. He's 7th place overall, as you can look at the bottom left right now, team number 7. And what he needs is a solo clutch of a generation. This man needs to churn out 25 points by himself from the 4th zone.
Currently in 7th place. He's going to need to do something massive. But hold on the right-hand side, a huge development here as we see Kane currently go down, our 5th place team, leaving Cruel as a solo. We thought they were in such a good position. Yeah, not the best materials to their name, but now not a teammate either. Cruel now beamed down to almost 50 HP. No hard mats to his name. The spray from the SMG starting to come through at the same time. The pressure unrelenting, and no, he's going to be picked up. So that's now opening the woodworks for guys like Julian. If he can clutch this up as a solo to get up into the top 6, potentially even the top 5, but only 11 builds to his name. Not looking good.
For all the teams in the bubble, everyone in the top 10, it feels like, you know, there's so much on their mind in terms of being able to stay in the game, stay ahead of Surge. The brains can't handle that much capacity, and as a result, some things do get missed out on. Kane and Cruel down on Surge hand position. Julian Calm down a teammate, down on luck, down bad in the dirt as well. That is done for him. That's the 7th place team, and now the rest of the lobby is looking upwards, realizing exactly what's ahead of them. A chance at having a seat at the top 6. 2 of those chairs are almost kind of down. Floki and Clement in 3rd, realize that the floor is kind of falling beneath them. They need to stay up here in the leaderboard. They want to keep pushing forward, and they definitely can. Kaizen and Yaisen, their 2 actual opponents basically have just gone down, and now for them, what they need to do is just survive this surge. 2 people have to go down here, keep their composure, and try to get any placement available in this game.
Another big pop. Not sure if that's going to give him any more HP getting away from the surge. 56 below, but no, that trade not benefiting them one bit now. The whole lobby's going to be aware that they're below the surge. That audio cue will be coming into any of the players around, that these guys are ticking, losing shield. And again, this is the moment where players can start to lure them into their base. You got Fornax, Kovacs up above, who could really always do with this refresh being further down on the leaderboards, but I'm not sure if they're going to try to make the aggressive play. They're going to try to rotate for Nyazin and Kaizen. No, they're going to hit the pad, but the nice little slide to get himself closer to the zone at that point, but still 20 behind. This is just desperation at this point.
I'm watching their game bleed away. The inventory stacked up with shields, a launch pad ready to go as well. All they just didn't have were the shots. And as a result now, instead of being in a base that's ready to go for a big fly into this half and half zone, instead of being ready to take control of this game, they look scared in a box they didn't want to even be in. And the side of the zone they weren't even planning on playing from. Meanwhile, everyone else absolutely silent as they wait for the next portion of the game.
Alex Cod and Ziandi, our current leaders, still up in this as well, looking very healthy. We know there's a lot of disruption in the top 10 teams so far. Tons of them have managed to go down. Andrea and Lois down in that 13th, still in this as well.
Not a single shot in sight. One SMG rattling somewhere in the zone.
Players are scared. They know.
Everyone is realizing that this is basically it. Second last game. This is kind of the only place where there will still be formalities. Still a few people playing for consistency. There's the first strike. It has to be apparently Andretta and Flois that start to get bullied. Of all players in the lobby, is going to be Lumo trying to go for that forced push. 208 damage below. They have to look for something try to grab it, or it's going to be a choke, a big launch pad. They'll start to be striked in the sky as they move. 38 seconds to that 7th zone. Everyone now is playing for that position. They're playing for that win. They just want to stay alive as long as possible.
Dre and Refsguard double dipping on that launch pad, hitting it, bouncing straight back to the front side of the zone with the minimal materials. This should save them up a ton. In the healing feed, we see another big one coming through from Clement, so he's popping off at the same time. The heals coming through onto Flois. Now Andrea has to put his team in a good position. They can tarp on the edge of the zone. They can go on that dead side. They can put themselves in a winning position for this game, in particular on the leaderboards, because they are 12th right now.
8 seconds till we see how difficult the zone will really be. Andrea and Flois staying side by side. Big takeover on height though. Zaka almost landing over and going for a fight. He decides not to. We're not going to be going to the bridge, but we will be falling through a bunch of cliffs. No bungee rope available for a bunch of these teams. The mats are running low, and Andrea now diving into a box, 271 damage above. He can just play his entire game. 244 wooden materials. Has to catch up with exactly where Flois is. I'm not sure where he's at all. I don't even see him on the screen. He's basically playing as a solo right now. Kaizen probably going down. He's dropped into someone else's box. I'm not sure exactly where his teammate is. They've found each other now, and the beams are starting to fly. Boofing randomly taken down. What a steal of mats. Just position, wealth, and they're still moving onwards, but the floor is falling. I mentioned the cliffs. They're just going everywhere. There's no chance for anyone to find any stability in this zone. Swifty as well as near the top is looking to see exactly what he can do.
Ooh, Alex Codden alongside ZND now going up for the high ground, up against ABR and Ping at the same time. If they win this game, this could be massive because they'll be dropped out of the leaderboard. The current high ground team, no, it's going to be ZND who gets knocked by Ping up on the high ground. He's looking for the body, he's looking for the refresh. He needs the materials to get himself back up in this, but he's got 4 mats. The high ground is open, it's free. None of the teams are looking up. None of the teams are realizing the opportunity, but someone is at the front side of the zone. The infinite Nanty, the crank, the Spider-Man fling comes out. We've seen so many of these shots hit connected so far, and it's Zaka and Zara who managed to take the high ground, but yet again with minimal materials.
They saw it once, they said not today, and now they make the jump and the climb. Another team starts to come up with more mats. Who is it going to be? Is it revenge of the spiders from down below, or will they fall down the sprout? 22 more damage from Zara on the right side. He's trying to do anything to stay up top and have a flow in this conversation. Down below, Esti and Andrea are getting squished. There's Clement forcing fights down in the underground. This is huge. Esti's still taking a lot of damage. Andrea somehow survived. How is it even possible to build down here? It's so suffocating for a bunch of these players, but Andrea is finding a way. Deox now finally going down. Zara finds Ping, so they have some type of thing on height, but no, it's Jeff and Keandra who get it. Where does this team come from? 43 points. They might steal a ticket to the finals.
They might get their way through, but at this moment, they're going to have to do something more important than that, which is get some refreshes, get some HP, get some materials, get something going up in this game, because the single team looks up in the lobby. They're going to see the weakness. It's almost a high ground, but Jeff goes down, picked up, messing up completely. Not a single team understanding the holding, the understanding of up there, but it's Kylie. It's Kylie who goes up.
6 different teams alive, 7 players. Now it's just solos. Kylie looking to put his team on his back. Every single player now has lost his teammate. It's just them, their mats, their shots. A few siphons on the ground. Kylie's all in with his mats. Force is now building up. It's a fight for height, and he actually denies them. Has the speed, has the peppers, and has the drop down, but misses the shot. Right side denied. A double ramp up top, blocked by a cone. Kylie still goes up. A dodge from Force. A shot from Force, but Kylie's too strong. The spider flip's not there in time, and it's Z-God with the win.
You said this would need to be done as a duo while talking about Alex Cod, while talking about Z-Andy. They've proved you, they've proved me, they've proved everyone wrong that a solo in the end game can clutch it up. The clutch master, Z-Andy, Alex Cod will pick up the victory royale and the qualification through. But don't worry, they are in first place currently, which means that the leaderboard's opened up big time.
Definitely shaken, but talk about a game that goes down to just a spider thread. If that shot from the web shooter hit, that would have been so different. So good, though, that Z-Andy and Z-God roll in and have this win under their belt going into the finals.
That was an incredible finish, I'm not gonna lie. I am at the edge of my seat. I wasn't sure who was gonna be able to pick it up. I thought Kylie was gonna be able to clutch it up with the Spider-Man. We've seen so many of those good clutches throughout the weekend, but look, you've seen our reactions. Let's throw it back to the desk to see what their reactions are.
I'm stunned. I'm shocked. Wow. You know, this is the perfect situation, right, for Kylie. The 1v1s all around the table. And just the way he was building, too. You could just tell, like, Watch the minimal build, 23. That's it. This is all he has to work with. And with every step, he's not building aggressively. He's building like straight up, right? Jumping backward Levin onto the ramp, saying, look, I'm trying to use his minimal builds right there. Boom, he jumps up back up again. Another ramp, right? He's not going on the offensive. Very mindful of what he has. And right there, he got the elimination, Levin, but he wasn't close enough to get the drops, which meant he had no build.
It's such a shame to see him go down like that. I'm sure he's so frustrated because he honestly was so close there. But to see Alex Corden and Ziandi get the win, look, they've been really consistent. And I wasn't too sure about their chances of actually winning that, right? Ziandi went down a bit earlier, and I didn't even have the thought in my mind that Alex Corden could even solo clutch that. So to see him just sort of pop out there at the very end, I'm sure he was thinking, what's going on? I've just taken out Logan. Where's the HEUTE team? Oh, Victory Royale. Okay, I guess we're into the final. Like, it was really just sort of crazy in that moment. But, you know, you can see here, these guys, Sundown, they have been pretty consistent today when you look at their games.
Yeah, and just keep an eye on the top left. It pretty much all happens at once. Like in the same moment, we go from 4 down to 1 right there at the end. And I mean, it's just so unfortunate for Kylie, unable to channel, well, I guess since we're in Europe, their inner PDR parkour and hit that key mythic web slinger shot there that we've seen in so many of the other days, because that would have been the highlight play right there. But Force gave him just enough of a challenge, put just enough pressure, burned him out of like one more mat. You saw him go to throw the cone down, and that little input was the delay there that he didn't have, and then he wasn't able to swap over in time to get that possibly final saving sling, and instead it goes over to Ziandi and Alex Cod.
It happens, and just like that, it happens, man. But on the other end, you got to congratulate them, right? They did get the Victory Royale, but for Ziandi, he was in first place, right? They got themselves the Victory Royale, which means now this could be another duo that we pull out of the total pool of players, right? So there's a lot that is kind of unfolded here. And, you know, Levin, Sundown, we only have the one game left. So I want to call an audible here. I want to kind of throw up the graphic just to remind everyone, if you've just seen, you're like, but there's been a ton of games. Let's see who all of our victors are, and then we're going to go right into standings, okay? So once again, and I'm so sorry, is this, how do you guys say Ziandi's teammate's name? I'm so sorry.
Alex Cod.
Alex Cod, there you go. Okay, I was like, I know that's not like Zeke. I don't know what it was, but this is what happens. Players always change the name. Okay, let's hit the standings. Let's get serious. Okay, one game left to go. Let's take a look at the bubble. Don't forget, top 6 will make it on. So right now, Snazy, Nate, they come in today, and they're looking to hold Levin, but can they? Because Kane and Cruel, they're also doing very well.
Yeah, I think the big thing for Snazy and Nate is they'll just be hoping that somebody above them gets a Victory Royale, if not them, right? In terms of just, guys, let's make it deeper into the game, but if one of you could get the Vic Roy, it would do us a solid, you know what I'm saying? So this last game is going to get real intense because, look how tight it is just points-wise. Even when you're going down to 10th, like, that's very easily jumpable in terms of getting in. Look at 11th as well, 101 points. It's going to go down to the wire.
Yeah, let's be honest here. Everybody in the top 13 who's just outside kind of that triple-digit range right now is in touching distance of that top 6 right at the end. It's going to be close. It'll be more beneficial if somebody in that top 6 does end up taking away a Victory Royale, like you said, because it pulls out just that many more points. But with only one match left to go, there are 7 spots on the line in the finals for the EU, F, and CS. The question is, who's going to grab it?
It's so tough, right? Like, this could be anyone. And like, the perfect situation is a team in the top 6 gets a Victory Royale, right? Because then that means that the top end will be able to kind of move up. And then it's kind of like, where did we all end after that game? But alternatively, if someone outside the top 6 gets that Victory Royale, then that top 6, like, it's already too close right now. So as we're watching this game, for you fans at home, like, watch that bottom left. It tells you where, like, that number with the little, like, Celsius sign is telling you what place they're in, right? So you can actively, moment to moment, see how close these positions are flipping. It is absolutely crazy. I mean, how are we feeling going to this last game? I'm not sold, man. I feel like anything I could have thought, like predicted or whatever, I feel like every duo has stepped up in these moments, Levin. They have said, this is it. We have to just kind of throw everything at the wall and then just hope that we can make it, you know, a win or a placement point. How are you feeling coming into this right now?
I think the big problem is if you're a fan of any of those teams, that's just right there, right? Just right there. It could easily be heartbreak, right? And so it's going to be entertaining for us. If you're watching from an outside perspective, you're just trying to have fun, enjoy the FNCS, this is perfect. This is everything you could ask for. But if you are one of those players or a fan of them, it is going to be really, really tight. They're going to be on the edge of the seat the whole game.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I'm just rooting for good games, and we got one more left here.
Oh, Sundown, I don't want to say goodbye just yet, but it is time. We've made it to the end of today, which means one game left to go. Who will fill these final 2 spots? It's time to find out. This is game number 6 of the FNCS.
Thank you very much. The desk. Shao, I'm going to want you to look into your crystal ball for a second. I want you to rub it. I want you to sit and think, who's winning this game?
Oh, okay. Hold up. Let me actually look at the crystal ball real quick. I'm like zoned in on what to say in terms of, you know, how things are going. I think if it's poetic, you know, in terms of how the quals have been going, it has to be Floki and Clement, you know, in terms of how their journey's been from day 1 till now, the way the day 1 players have been rolling in as well. Even though they are basically close to qualifying in this game, they have to roll in.
Absolutely not certain they're first on the leaderboard right now. Remember, we have about the top 10 teams who are all in that qualification range area, whatever you want to really call it at this point. Whoever is on this bubble goes down early, mid, even at the start of the moving zones. This could be massive for any of these other teams, given that opportunity to catch up and overtake.
Yeah, and the big thing too is not just, you know, who's making it in, but where are they going to go? The finals, everyone is going to be watching to see which 7 teams roll in. It's the last game of the semifinals. Here we go. One more game, 7 more slots, and 1 winning team with a direct ticket in. It can be any team playing right now that can hit that final. They just have to win. That being said, a bunch of them are close to that top 6. We're looking at Snazy, we're looking at Cruel. That 110-point line is where you have to be that tall, basically, to be in that top 6.
So SLQ slowly decide not to 50-50 this time and both get 150'd by a heavy shotgun from Snazy, so a little bit of a change up. We're kind of, I don't want to say gifted, that's not the right way to put it, but Snazy had a really easy time with Surge at the start of that previous game, purely based on that early contestation. We got to think right now, them being 5th on the bubble out Covert Canyon here means everything.
Every decision will be amplified. A butterfly effect towards the later portion of their game. 30 damage for Snazy in a place that could have been 60 or even 90. We'll see if that affects things in a few zones. Glubshy as well. His form of game will be aggression, already finding 1 elimination off spawn onto Chonkers. It's been the most active POI, I feel like, even past Tilted in terms of fights and shots. And so far, the way that he can get towards the finals will surely have to be a victory royale. 40 points at this point, Reese. Unless he's finding secret points we don't know about in the format, there's no way he qualifies off of consistency.
No. I mean, you know, there could be a lot of elims going on down. We see some nutty kind of stuff happening here, but it's interesting the change of pace that we've seen in Chonkers. It's been so chaotic, and it's almost poetic. Coming into the final game, it's just one team. They have the entire land to themselves and every opportunity to qualify.
Syndra and low ticks, this is where the pressure really starts to lock in, whether it is a POI like Chonkers where it's free, where it is, you know, maybe a place where they're worried and contested. What's on their mind is the fact that this will be a very different game for them overall. Symmetry gonna be right beside them to take a few shots. It's all about the win for them, and that's how you start a game right. Absolutely glorious prediction on movement, and Syndra has a free elimination to start this game off.
Beautiful. I've not seen a good snipe in a long time on the broadcast. Especially this season, since obviously they're a slight little bit weaker when it comes to Chapter 3, Season 1. You know, that not got that big one-shot potential from the maximum headshot. Look at a quick stat in the top right. Projected points needed to advance through to consistency is 139. Now, this could all change up depending on if one of the teams in that top 6 will qualify through. If someone's above that, say if Floki and Clement wins the game, for example, that will change up a little bit. But 139 is the magic number.
40 is then the normal number, unmagical. Oh, it's the opposite of magic.
Definitely unmagical number.
Unmagical number.
I don't have the exact words, but it's not magical.
Might not be able to cast spells. You can still go to like a, you know, a 9 to 5. You can still do what you want
all in
to
cup
do.
tricks, you know.
Yeah. But what Blanca and Combat can still do is something absolutely completely magical, which is winning the game. That will still also get you in. It's 6 teams from that consistency, the top 6, and then the winner as well. We can't stress that enough. And both of the teams that are fighting right now, Kudwo and Frey, Combeck and Blocka, I mean, for the moment right now, 33rd and 27th, consistency is nowhere near them. They'll have to force this fight. They'll have to force every fight possible. It seems like maybe take out as many teams towards the top, get the best loot possible, and just go for that win.
Yeah, you think you see a lot more teams play way more aggressive in this game than we've seen previously. And this is usually the case when it comes to that final game. Even though the off-spawn seems a little bit more calm because there's less teams in lobby, more uncontested players. At the same time, the teams are almost in that we just need to win. And sometimes to win a game, you have to make aggressive plays. If you're just sitting on the low ground, boxing up, tunneling an end game, doing nothing, you're getting no match, you're getting no refreshes. You have to be able to be aggressive and make the plays to win a game.
They might be thinking, yo, then, you know, if that's the case, Reese and Shio, why don't people just disengage off of spawn in the last game? You have a better chance of surviving. You also have half less to loot. You also have no damage and like barely any builds because you have to share everything. In this game, when you want to win, sharing is usually not the way it's done.
Sharing is usually caring in real life. I would highly recommend it. But not in Fortnite.
Not in game.
Not in Fortnite. Be
Share with your teammates. Yeah. Yes. Otherwise, be selfish. Do you have an opinion on, you know, knocked bodies? Who gets the loot? Is it the person that gets the knock?
Are you referring to in an FNCS situation like this, or if we're playing arena?
If we're playing arena, because I know in FNCS it is what it is, you know.
Yeah, I just was wondering if there's a more analytical slide.
No, this is
it's just
far from analysis.
I mean, finders get keepers, really, you know.
Wow. Okay.
Only if I am not the one that gets the elim. If I get the elim, it's mine. If you get the elim, it's potentially mine if I'm there.
Maximum honor there from Resub. You heard it here first, folks.
It depends, you know, if there's like a pleasant back and forth. Oh, you go drop me this gold striker at one point. Then potentially I'll feel a little bit more open and relaxed about, you know, maybe giving you maybe a little AR, maybe SMG here or there.
We'll see. All I know now is anytime I'm playing with you, I'm just taking the loot. Getting cruel. They want to just, I feel like it's itching in their souls to just take all the fights inside the cavern. I'm wondering exactly how games also started for a bunch of players all across the map. What are they trying to steal away from others? Look at that triple edit from Frizusha. This is what I like to see, and he sets up his teammate perfectly. Karmi comes in, picks up that Flodax Elam.
That means Flodax switched drop spot yet again, as well, not yet again, sorry. I was actually saying in the last game, he was one of the players who's stuck to the Daily Bugle. Qualifiers, semis, doesn't matter. He's not moved one bit. And now in the final game, he's decided to move up, and it's just not worked out for him at all.
Yeah, he's not going to be moving to the finals.
That's also very relevant, true. Good stat, very important. If you see a team go out who is not in the top 6, their FNCS is over.
That's so scary. Wolfie is going to be in that spot with Mr. J, and this is a team, I know they're 5 points, but they've been so much fun to watch this entire weekend. They've had some of the craziest fights overall. They weren't the ones that were giving us the H fight, right? That was Rafa versus Kylie or something.
No.
They've had some cool breakdowns, some cool, I mean, if you're looking to study off-spawn engagements on what to do right, as well as sometimes what to do wrong, this is a very cool team to watch because they have been flipping some spots as well. Now, though, they have to play a certain part of the game where they haven't been to today at all. 5 points means they haven't really even made it past what, like top 30-ish even?
Well, no, remember, first game, 12 minutes they went down, and it was 48.
True. Okay.
So, you know, I don't know in terms of their best placement off the top of my head right now, but it's not been good enough.
I have to go through uncharted waters. Meanwhile, this is kind of the, I feel like, officially scariest spot to sit in. Julian Comtil, it's not about just surviving in whatever place you are in the leaderboard. It's not even about overtaking others. It's about being absolutely efficient and living in both worlds as much as possible. 7th place. They're one placement away currently from just qualing.
Now, this is an interesting position, though, because this is a north zone. I know it's shocking, but this is a north zone. And they're sitting boxing up on the south side of a relatively north POI, which means that all those players are coming in below them. So they should have great sight lines to get a bunch of tags. All the players rotating there. But if it pulls north for a second, they have to go through everyone else who's in that POI.
That's a very good thing to bring up. Usually it's not that big of a thing to analyze. You know, you look at bus pads. Oh, who's going to drop down first? I feel like it's never really that, you know, relevant. But when it comes to a tournament where over a few days, everyone's been playing in the south over and over again. You get used to a very specific type of game style unconsciously, right? When you look at the game now, if it does pull north in the final moments, we've been working to fix things over and over again, how your end game looks. It's all been based off of rocky reels. It's all been based off of rotations in the middle of the map. Now we go towards the top left. We're talking about snow. The lumberyard is now in play. This game will be very different for all of Europe and in a match where it matters the most.
It's poetic. The final game, the game that decides who is qualifying through, is completely opposite to every other game we've watched this weekend by pulling north instead of south. And we see a lot of the teams who are up in that north side, you can already see a kind of complete shift, an almost paradigm shift in the way that the players are playing. When it comes to that south zones, no one's in the zone early. But when it comes to the north zones, suddenly everyone is in that center zone already. It's already stacked. So players like Karmi and Nefrizi, who are rotating in late, are going to have a tough time finding a power position on one of those hills where they need to be in.
Outside the FNCS as well, when you look at the lumberyard, when you look at the zone play in general, when it comes to cash cups and a bunch of the games that have just been played, 26% of the time we're in the top left hemisphere. It's one of the most common games overall for a bunch of the players. I believe that just also might be FNCS wide across the world in general. All the games. So it might not be cash cups entirely, but if you look at that pattern just for the FNCS, you understand and realize a bunch of players should have good game plans overall in terms of, you know, how things look in this zone. Yeah, they're basically, you know, we talk about home zone a lot of the time. They'll be in comfort in the environment they're around it.
This is a team right here that I hope is comfortable. This is the South Sleepy Sounds team. Lois and Drea, a team that we've talked about all weekend. A team that I've hyped up at the start of the first day. Yesterday, you know, stinky performances off spawn, in all honesty. They continually went down. They continually lost in a drop spot they're not comfortable with, but now have switched back to their home spot. Sleepy Sounds, the south side. They've pulled a zone that's favorable to them as well.
That's the thing, right? Is it a little bit more tarpy on the top left side? Is it a little bit better for Andretta overall? There has to be a reason they're here for the semis as well, right? And obviously we know a good team overall when it just comes to character. You're right, the performance has been a little bit sloppy. There can be no excuse for this zone is what I'm trying to say for Andretta and Flois.
100%. They have to put themselves in a good position. They're not as deep in the zone as I would like. Potentially, it has been their struggle so far, not getting that deep into zone, having difficult rotates later on, repeatedly, game after game. So I'm hoping they have a good game plan for rotating after this, once they've kind of got a bunch of tags on the player coming through. Kaizen and Nyazin right now, our fourth place team, they are struggling. 53 below, they're looking to take tags. They're unfortunately looking to trade as well.
They're going to continue to struggle because when it comes to this duo on the top portion of your screen right now, I feel like they're the late duo. We're talking about procrastinators at the very start of the broadcast. Let's bring it full circle. I always see them on zone line. I always see them low ground in these end games. And they do conserve materials that way. They get to abuse other people's locations. When it comes to these mountainous zones, it's a lot more difficult to play that low ground. It's a lot more difficult to survive in mid around all these teams switching layers. And already they're starting to struggle with Surge. It's only uphill from here for these boys.
Could be talking of uphill. Till and Julian Colm in the bottom right, trying to drive uphill and struggling, meeting a wall of players in their way. And then bottom left, you see Nate and Sneezy. Similarly, also, all of our teams here on the bubble and all struggling with this surge, all in a clustered area.
Look at these names too. Julian Colm, Kaizen, Yaisen, Sneezy, Nate. Some of them might not be here in the finals. This is the last game. And that's just 3 teams we want to be there. Out of the other 3 that can go out through consistency and the one that'll be there through the win, we will see an upset of a team that's usually there inside the finals. A prestigious name not allowed to play in this first duels FNCS.
Every single team we're watching right now, 1 shot above or 1 shot below on the threshold. The zone now starting to tick. All 3 of our teams who are on the bubble starting to struggle. Nate's teammate, Sneezy, has been completely weakened down. The material is starting to dwindle on the top. We see Kaizen 14 above, just doing anything he can. Now 18 below the threshold again, starting to dwindle down on the chug splashes as well. Julian Colm, 18 above from trading. This is one of the closest Storm Surges I've ever seen on the leaderboard of Surge. These guys must all be absolutely next to each other.
When Nate takes a shot, Julian Storm Surge goes down. When Kaizen lands something, they all start to switch. These are the only team, 6 out of the 7 players that influence each other with every shot they take.
rough to see. Julian Cobbs managed to get up ahead. Nate actively getting tagged by at the same time. Kaizen just tiptoeing over the line of 15 above, over and over. This triple view beautifully demonstrating every single angle, but now going down into Nate to show you exactly who's in trouble.
Both other teams have gotten almost 100 above. Nate and Snazy stuck down in the depths, 23 below. They started just right here beside a mountain, but suddenly this box does not look like home. Force and Wings, one of the most aggressive duos. I was sometimes akin to being an armadillo when it comes to trying to pressure. It's impossible to crack their shell. They're going to stop Snazy from going in and getting any damage, and now it's all up to Nate.
I think Nate ended up letting Snazy go down there because that ended the Storm Surge. He knows that as a solo, this is the only opportunity for him to qualify. He's in the top 5 right now. He has Wings and Force spraying at his walls as a duo. Just, again, I'm going to say it, dwindling the materials down. He uses the only launch pad that he has. He has no heals. He has absolutely nothing, and that team's just tracked him. That's followed him. The tree started to fall onto his builds, but no avail underneath the cone right now. Center third zone. That's so rough for him.
I'm speechless right now. FNCS finals without Nate and Snazy in it is what it's looking like for the moment. Launch pad down. So many shields already used. Third place. Skyzoo. Jocks going in to the box. 0 HP. It is a replay of third place going down. And that was 121 points from what we saw earlier on. From analytics, it was 129 that was needed. So even them, depending on if a top 6 team wins or even a team ahead of them winning, they might not even make it to the finals.
That means they're going to be locked in time.
139, my apologies.
139.
139.
So them being locked in time, low 120s, that has to have a huge shift in terms of who qualifies, right? If the teams above them win a game, that threshold could drop big time. We've seen a lot of players up there struggle, which could shift that threshold a ton. But guys like Flois and Andrea, who are on that congested side of the zone with a ton of other players, they have to capitalize on this final opportunity to make it to the finals.
Majority of teams getting the zone. It will be a squish, a crunch for a bunch around the outsides. I mentioned 129 before because I thought that everyone was close to qualifying currently for the moment. But it looks like there's a journey. 10 more even points on top of that to 139 for a majority of these teams. I thought Nate was just right there. Maybe the 6th, 7th zone is all he had to conquer. But he'll have to go towards the 8th and 9th with just these materials, with his medal already half out. This is just disaster for Nate.
Snuck back here. He was away by himself. He snuck over here back to the loot of the players that he was just fighting at before and his teammate Snazy. Remember, his inventory had no shield in it. He was down to white HP. He's now managed to get himself back up to almost 100 builds. Tons of heals left. And now with a shot at qualification.
Prize pool of $1.3 million. A chance to play for it overall. That'll be on the mind for all these teams currently as well. Frizz and Carmi looking at their position on the boards right now. 9th place, almost gonna need more than 30 points. I mean, the only team that's comfortable right now, Reese, have to be Clement and Floki, the Solary boys, rolling in. They started this game with 143. They've kind of already just needed. If they win overall, that will change things for a bunch of teams below them. That'll basically add an extra slot to that top 6 in terms of who qualified.
But again, they're not game winners. They're 2nd, 3rd, 5th consistent placement teams. They're not guys who are going to go for height and go for the win unless they're just feeling confident in the final. The teams that you're looking for right now on your screen are the ones who are more than likely going for the win.
Welcome to Storm Surge Part 2. Once again, we see teams above that line, below that line. That line specifically. Yeah, 185 for Nate. You thought it got worse with one teammate being down. You thought it got worse with the mats being gone and not around. This man needs to find basically 2 teammates worth of damage. You know, sometimes you get the 100, that person shields up. You have to go and get the 100 again. There's no way someone just lets you deal that 200 once. And I don't see a sniper in his inventory, so he doesn't have a chance for that big shot. Even a headshot at this point would not be enough with 225 being the plate he's being served. Flois and Andretta also in trouble. That 4 number looking that much more scary if it's Frey on your box. Andretta will not go down, surprisingly staying up, and Flawless will still go for a beam against two players entirely. They have the right side edit. They have a few chances for a shot. Flawless gets blocked. He's gonna go for the 2v1 beam. He does not get the elimination on one side. He had an opening, but there's no damage, no chance. He's giving them too much time. He has to just edit in and do something. He elects for Andretta to go down, does not trade for the 2 eliminations. He does not go all in. It's all up to Flawless now.
That is the issue with not having a shotgun in your inventory. That was a 1v2 clutch he could have easily put into play, but the choice of inventory just was not there. This is the meta he went to work for. Now he's left with no heals, but luckily he still has the launch pad in his inventory as we switch over to Nefreezy, who's chilling on Surge, chilling on position, not so chilling on the rotate back over to Snake. However, on that far right hand side, he's got a duo trying to run straight inside of his box. He does have the shotgun. He's trying to hit the shots. He's below. He's now 38 above at the same time. He's getting straight out that box. He knows where the danger is. He knows he has to get out. He's the only player below Storm Surge at this point. 15 below, 1 shot. 1 AR tag will put him up above. This is the clutch for qualification, potentially, if he stays in this. And Cheatin goes down in the feed. So does Recyclium and Pickle. The surge is now over. Things have calmed. There's a moment to breathe for Nate. And yeah, he's still looking to shoot some players.
He knows that Storm Surge has a part 3. It's still not done with him just yet, and that number was 96 he had to climb. The people getting the eliminations on these people that are following in the feed as well. Reese, that should be paid attention to. Zara picking up a few of the eliminations. Kidwo as well, not one of them. And we just saw Frey and Kidwo pick apart Andretta as well. So they have a huge refresh to work with. Zaka, who's Zara's teammate, gets a nice elim fully confirmed as well. Look at Flawless and where we left him. Very similar to Nate. These are 2 stories, 2 legendary paths. We might just see close here before the end game even starts.
No, Nate goes down in the zone at the backside. Potentially the shots were not correct play. Rose the awareness of everyone else to the lobby. Now it's down to Flawless, losing Andrea, 8th place currently. No heals, 15 builds, 1 launch pad to his name to clutch up.
Low ground, all there is struggle for people who aren't even moving in the zone. It's tough to see Nate go down that way, but it kind of shows you how that low ground will play out for a majority of these teams, and they've been used to being in that spot. Zara actually going down. They have a pad and should be so good on builds, depending on all the action we just saw them take a part of, but it's Leon that snaps their story in half. Flawless finally goes down to Rafa, so Andretta will not be there alongside Flawless in the finals of this FNCS either. Zaka, though, will have winning. It might be tough for Cruel. He's dropping down, perfect drop and catch to make sure he doesn't take the fall damage, but he needs to upkeep with his shields. Player in his box, and that's Cruel's run done, but it's not over yet. Jeff going straight up for height. It's 2 teams that are desperate for a win. They're nowhere close to the consistency. Jeff with the edit course all the way on high ground, but does not find a shot or the Spider-Man grab. It's unfortunate. Left up top to Keandro by himself. Does he have the potential for a res? Is it even an option at this point? No, absolutely not. And now the win, it was just there in his grasp, right there in front of his eyes. It's gone, and he has to do things by himself.
I think he was going for the materials, hopefully getting the drop from Jeff, but it just didn't happen yet at all. But up on high ground, Flawless. Keyrock's the team who's been in the fights, in the engagements all day, now making a name for themselves up on high ground. They have the materials to hold it, but do they have the skill? Do they have the awareness of the entire lobby? We have not seen that so far, but yet this is the game that they could win and qualify. They have no shot at doing it through consistency.
You can hear the shots rumbling on low ground. Subwoofers of bass just going back and forth over and over again. It is not pretty down there on the ice. Krusty and Relvis, they start to skate down below as well. 118 points. They're right outside the top 6. Swifty, I assume, will just have to qualify after that elimination onto Floki. But there it is. It's Clement actually going down. They should be good too with the points they have in this game. We might be seeing them in the finals, but for Relvis and Krusty, this is desperation. Maximum overdrive. Flawless as well up top on height, 85 points. They need this win. Nothing short of that will cut it with 7 teams still left, but they're having trouble knocking on the door of every team down below. Jams it on his box. Is going to get splintered of side splash as Relvis finally goes down. Krusty, 3 elims, 120 points. He needs about 19 more. Not going to have the chance to maybe even pick up his teammate. The zone is bouncing back. 9 zone revival. No chance, absolutely. 30 HP playing with that storm. No mats available. FNCS qualifier run on the line. He navigates with the shot, looking for the beam and finds it. The dream survives for a few more seconds, but he needs to stay active. 4 teams now down. Stepter finally gone. Krusty, he was the one getting the elimination. Jams it also denied a seat. 5th place. It's looking good. He's fine overall. This might just be enough for the qual. He does go down though in 5th place. How much higher do the points go? Clinberry, 11th overall. He might be looking for the win. Him and Leon have been so aggressive, but that maximum push on the gas might be too much. They're at a max. Leon now too is trying to find a way to swing up. That was his last spider shot. They've got nothing but the guns and no mats on their back, going for the drop shot down. It's over. Huddy and Cyro up top, a 92-point run right now. 14th place. They need this win here.
It's a 2v2 situation, high ground versus low ground. The materials, yet again, almost down to nothing. But can the shots connect? The HP so low and high. Hutty has qualified. He's in 3rd place to win this, to qualify. Xerox and Flawless have to pick up the victory. They jump into the box, and they do it. They are going to qualify straight through to the FNCS finals with that victory royale.
Absolutely beautiful from many different teams. We saw a variety of perspectives of runs, especially one that was absolutely desperate. Never count out any team in the semifinals all the way till the last game. That's what we love to see.
Every single match electrifying, every moment of that final game on the edge of my seat. But it went down in the end to the team who took their time, who went up the height layer, Flawless Xerox.
That was just beautiful, and once again that pattern repeats all the way to game 6. No one really interrupting height at all. It's crazy. A day 2 team that's also rolling by and looking fly. I mean, Reese, that was an amazing form of games, and we saw a bunch of 5th, 6th, 4th places even end their runs in that game. They graduated.
Yeah, there was a lot of people overtaking the leaderboard. When it comes to actually finally see the full list of qualifications, we'll actually see how impactful that final game was.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for watching the semifinals so far. That was me and Reese on the cast. We'll toss it back over to Zeke, Levin, and Sundown to break down exactly who is going to the finals.
Thank you guys so much. You guys absolutely crushed it today. My goodness, 6 games of Fortnite, and for Cyrox Flawless, they make it through the end. I love how the caster set it up right there in those final few moments. It does come down to this. They either win that game and they qualify, or they lose and they don't. So well fought from them. It comes down to this, right, Levin? In these final moments of these final games, a team always just finds a way to kind of come up and say, look, we can qualify. We're going to win whatever it is. We're just going to make sure that we can make it to the very next stage of the competition. And going from 14th, right, you got to think in this moment, they're thinking, what do we do? You know, it's this or nothing. It's this or we got to wait till the next FNCS. But they held it together. They isolated Huddy there, and they said, no. You're not going anywhere, but we are going to the finals.
Yeah, I love that from them, right? They didn't lose composure. When they lost high ground, we'll talk about it because one team did make this mistake, but when they lost high ground, they didn't lose composure. They realized, hey, let's try to chop it down. They went for the chop down. Eventually, it played off for them, and they were able to win out the game. They deserve to be in the final. Good job. It's not easy, right, to hold your nerve in the last game when you know everything's on the line, when you're not quite sure if you have enough points to secure in the top 6, but they were able to pull through. So big congratulations. I'm not sure actually, is that their first FNCS for those guys? I think it might be for Flawless maybe, but you know, big congrats to them. Going to be great to see them in the finals next weekend.
Yeah, very much so deserved, showing the composure like you talked about, being able to stay hip to hip. And hey, when you have only one win condition, that's a lot of pressure going on to them, and they were able to close it out, staying as a duo and really working their way too. But also got to give a shout out to HEUTE and Swift, a phenomenally consistent round of 6 matches going through. They'll definitely be on that leaderboard, but we don't know completely what that leaderboard is going to look like. As everyone said, just keep an eye on the bottom left-hand corner. You can see nearly every team who was in this endgame was right around kind of that single or double digits towards the end, and then they were dropping, but you can just see the work they were consistently putting down and the teamwork they had together. This was every game for them.
Looks so good. Absolutely ridiculous. So we're in the back, right? Let me just set the stage for you guys, you viewers at home. Sundown, Levin, and I, we're in the back every single time someone's eliminated. We're looking at the bottom left. What's going on? Is that what number were they in? Wait, does that mean that this team's still up? The whole time we watched the tail end, the bottom 6 of the top 6 change. And now the question becomes, who did make it through? Now they did hold on to that 3rd place, right? HEUTE absolutely just holding on, because that's what a lot of these teams had to do, right? If you're in that top 6, you got to make sure you can squeeze just every single point you can out, right? Because if some other duo finds their way in, they're going to just knock you out. And we probably will more than likely see the team that was in 6th last time knocked out. So let's remind you guys of who won, who has already made it through on just the victory royale. Trulex, Chico, Irazumi, Ovalder, Swilliam, Lecce, Vortexia, Castery. This is, which one's this one? Alex Cod, Zandy, I remembered, Levin, I got it. And Flawless and Cyrox. Congratulations, but we gotta flip on. We gotta see which duos do make it in that top 6 spot. Levin, it happened. It happened. We saw Cade and Cruel. They got pushed out.
So much switch up. If you're looking at that top 6, if you're just remembering back to the leaderboard in the previous game, so many switch ups, and that's what we expected to happen with just how fine the margins were at Sundown. And look, big congratulations to the players in the top 6. A lot of them were incredibly consistent on the day. You know, 1st and 2nd, phenomenal performance. They both did incredible. But when you look down below as well, a lot of them did a great job of being able to sneak their way in just in that final game there.
Yeah, the final top 6 ended up being 129. We saw 2nd place going into that final game was 122. So the only people who ultimately ended up being safe and not having that last game kind of on their back was Floki and Complain. And even then, we saw them in that highlight package at the end. They were playing in the end games, doing what they do well and being very consistent. But we have to say, hey, that's it for Europe. We got our top 50 duos. Congratulations to everyone. We'll see you next weekend. But what a region for Fortnite this weekend.
So good. We got to take a look at the predictions, right? How did we do? Now, of course, we were right. We knew Floki and Clement would come in and do absolutely well. Kane and Cruel, unfortunately, do miss the bus. But it is okay. It is all good, right, Levin? In these moments, it's easy to kind of look down and say, you know, we lost, we didn't make it, whatever. But it's okay. Fortnite is about growing. It's about evolving. You can take the learnings you have here, go back to the drawing board, study up, VOD review, and then bring all of that into next season.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, it's the first event of the year. You want to get off to a good start, but if you can't, you have to remember there's we got a long year of Fortnite ahead of us. There's going to be plenty of duo competitions for the teams that just didn't quite make it. It happens, you know what I mean? It happens at the end of the day, right? Like you said, Zeke, you hit the drawing board, you come back even stronger. Look, as much as I will probably banter people as much as I can now over the next couple of weeks, you know, because I've got to keep it playful and whatnot. Don't be too hard on yourself, right? It happens. The best 50 duos were the ones that made it through. And if you weren't quite there, next season may be a season.
Yeah, there's always more competitive Fortnite.
Always, always, always. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us for this entire weekend of Europe. It has been an incredible subset of games. Please make sure you give these two a follow. Give Reese and Shywager a follow. Without them, this just is impossible. We are back next weekend. Finals. Acts of Champions, prize money on the line, stakes that much higher. But we also have NA East and NA West not too far away, so if you want to watch more Fortnite, there will be more Fortnite for you today. Until next week, we love you, stay safe, and as always, we'll see you guys on the battle bus. Beep beep.